Alicia, the only daughter of the Marquis Lane family in 200 years, tragically died from a curse as the Grand Duke's seventh wife, only to unexpectedly travel back to when she was 19. Having fallen into hell and become a powerful warrior, she decides to change her fate and break off the engagement with her terrible fiancé. To find a way out, Alicia proposes a marriage contract to Grand Duke Ryukard, and from then on, they become entangled in curses, conspiracies, and budding affection. The story continues to unfold amidst countless mysteries, challenges, and sweet romance. So let's follow Nezuko Recap to see how the story unfolds. The story opens in a vast desert. Perhaps due to the long journey, Alicia was extremely exhausted, with sweat constantly streaming down her face. Meanwhile, the beads of sweat gradually evaporated from the high temperature. Alicia stared blankly ahead. She still clutched the pocket watch tightly in her hand. The story gradually unfolds, telling of the daughter born to the Marquis Lane family after 200 years, a lovely little daughter in a perfect family. The little girl's figure appears before us like a picturesque poem, a girl who lived under everyone's protection, as delicate as a flower in a greenhouse who had never left her family. This was the Alicia everyone in the room knew. Alicia hesitantly hid in a corner, a shy person who would stutter on the first word she spoke, an illegitimate daughter who was afraid of strangers and spent all day reading in the annex. Her gaze gradually turned sad. This was the real Alicia. Alicia of the Stern Lane family was well aware of her situation. She understood her own life better than anyone. Even with her status as an illegitimate daughter, she was still able to survive. It all began when Alicia's mother became pregnant with her. Although she was a daughter, she was still recognized as the child of the Marquis. Then came Alicia's gradual growth. She was the only surviving daughter in the Marquis family. But her life was always prearranged, as she still had use to the family. Everything gradually began after she grew up, so it was no surprise that when she turned 17, the Marquis ordered her to marry. On a fine day in the royal palace, a man walked up to Alicia and greeted her. "It's an honor to meet you, my lady." He smiled and extended his hand to introduce himself. "I am Gregory of the Count Barker family." Out of courtesy, Alicia quickly turned to greet him. "I am Alicia of the Marquis Lane family." She didn't know that her life was already being used, entangled between the true power of the capital and the true power of the north. Alicia and Gregory were officially engaged, and the marriage alliance between the two families proceeded very smoothly, which people thought would last forever. In an accident, Alicia discovered the truth of Gregory Barker's infidelity, and everything came to an end. At that moment, the fierce man became unusually furious. "How dare you touch my wife?" He coldly threw a punch directly at Gregory. "You're dead." The story continues, and although Gregory Barker was still alive, he was crippled. The Lane family then announced the cancellation of the engagement, but the Barker family refused to accept it, and the two sides argued for a long time. This divorce lawsuit lasted for 8 years. Only Alicia still maintained that sad expression. At this age, outsiders would start to criticize her for being too old, and she had become useless. One day, Alicia walked into the room and asked, "Father, you were looking for me?" Seeing her appear, Waldemar finally looked up. "I have decided on your next fiancé," he announced coldly. "It is the Grand Duke of Tessen." This name struck extreme fear into Alicia Rickard Tessen. She was terrified of the owner of this name, the Lord of Tessen, the land of gold and death, the guardian of the western frontier, and the Emperor's half-brother. Perhaps this was why Alicia didn't dare to face him. That Grand Duke was a villain. Another thing that frightened her even more was that he had previously murdered 6 Grand Duchesses. Many legends spread. The first Grand Duchess died mysteriously on her way to Tessen after the wedding. Even so, things didn't end there. The second Grand Duchess returned to her family home, unable to endure the harsh environment of Tessen, but not long after, she died of an unknown illness. Everything became worse than ever. The third Grand Duchess, fearing death, fled back to her family home, but on her way back to Tessen under the Emperor's order, she died in an accident. Time passed, and another story emerged. The fourth Grand Duchess, terrible things kept happening. The fifth Grand Duchess, the sixth Grand Duchess, all died because they married Rickard Tessen. Thinking about these things, Alicia sighed wearily. "Even if I never leave the house, I know these rumors, so it's impossible for Father not to know." Her hands began to tremble uncontrollably. "S.O. Father is telling me to go and die." Thoughts kept flashing through Alicia's mind. I don't want to. It's too scary. I don't want to get married. I don't want to die. I don't want to. Suddenly, Vladimir's voice rang out, catching her attention. Do you have anything to say right now? Alicia hurriedly looked up to react. Vladimir's eyes were filled with anger. He stared at her intently, and sweat streamed down her face. Alicia's throat suddenly felt tight. In the end, she just weakly declared, no, nothing. Hearing this, he quickly commanded, then go back to your room. Suddenly, a heavy rain began to pour, catching Alicia's attention. The sky had been clear just a moment ago, but the sky before her had turned gray, and now it was raining. In the room, Daisy was carefully combing her hair. Alicia's face was still very sad, and seeing her like this, she called out, my lady. With a hint of helplessness, Daisy slowly said, don't get married. Realizing she had misspoken, Daisy was startled. Daisy quickly bowed her head and apologized. I'm sorry, my lady. I really don't know what to do. Alicia lowered her head sadly. It's all right. She felt extremely unwell. Can you leave me alone for a while? She looked thoughtfully at the gifts on the table, but Waldemar's words rang out. The Grand Duke has sent the engagement gifts and the marriage contract. I've had them sent to your room. This made Alicia remember, I should go back and take a look, she thought. That's what he said. With curiosity, Alicia slowly opened the gift box. Expensive jewels met her eyes. Seeing these gifts surprised her. How magnificent. Suddenly, an item caught Alicia's attention. What's this? She thoughtfully picked up the pocket watch in her hand and examined it closely. A pendant? It looks very old. Is this a royal family heirloom? After a closer look, Alicia was surprised to find it wasn't a pendant. Her expression was a bit dazed. It's a watch. Just as Alicia was still thinking, the space here seemed to change. She still didn't understand what was happening to this place. Alicia's body was pushed into a different dimension. This left her extremely exhausted. In the end, Alicia fell into a pitch-black space. She hurriedly looked up and around. What is this? Where is this? Suddenly, a drop of water fell on Alicia's face. Out of curiosity, she slowly raised her hand. Her expression gradually changed as she seemed to realize something was wrong. Saliva. Alicia stood silently, realizing the dangerous situation. When she turned around, a terrifying monster rushed over. Alicia comforted herself. This is a dream, right? Time passed, and the story came to a close. On January 1st, year 350 of the Benedict calendar, Alicia fell into hell. That was Alicia's pitiful life. After that, the space here became unusually gloomy. To escape the monster's pursuit, Alicia hurriedly hid to the side. She looked outside worriedly, thinking, okay, the monsters had all fallen into a deep sleep, which caught her attention. They're all asleep. Alicia cautiously tried to back away further. If I want to escape, now is the time. Recalling what happened before, she felt very confused. The day I fell into hell and met the monsters, I died. But when Alicia opened her eyes again, nothing was as she thought, no. She saw the skull placed before her. It's true that I died. Sweat streamed down her face. It's true that I died. But it seemed that only now did Alicia realize something important. I've become immortal. She remembered the wound on her hand. A small paper cut would take a week to heal. Now, everything was far from what Alicia had thought. However, after being torn apart by monsters, I only need one day to recover. Alicia seemed to have completely accepted these things, and I realized that even if I want to die, I can't die. The moment she saw the monster, Alicia became extremely desperate. I was wrong. She sat motionless. At first, I kept begging. Tears stained her face. Save me. But the monsters wouldn't let her go either. Why are you doing this to me? Alicia's attitude gradually changed. Then came anger, and she shouted nonstop. What did I do wrong? She quickly lost consciousness again. Time passed, and Alicia tried many methods. Then came rebellion, resistance. The space here constantly enveloped her, and finally, escape. Everything happened too quickly, leaving Alicia in extreme despair. She looked at her body. Can I escape from here? Suddenly a thought appeared in her mind. What if I get caught? Her body trembled with fear. What if that monster gets angry? She clenched her fists, crying nonstop. I'm so scared. Poor Alicia could only curl up in one spot. No, I can do it. I can do it. Not wanting to live like this anymore, Alicia suddenly stood up to resist. She told herself, I can do it. Alicia just wanted to leave this godforsaken place as soon as possible. The space before her eyes gradually blurred. She could no longer tell where she was. Am I going in the right direction? Alicia's feet were covered in mud. After struggling for a while, Alicia found a door, and her eyes suddenly lit up. The exit is right there. Seeing the light made Alicia think she was about to succeed. Great, just a little more. Despite her exhausted body, she still didn't give up. I just need to go a little further. She used her last ounce of strength to run forward desperately, and then I'll escape this hell. Alicia panted, comforting herself. I can go back. Her face held a look of anticipation. Let's go home. But the result she wanted never came. Drops of bright red blood rolled onto the ground. Alicia's eyes widened as she looked at the scene before her. The disgusting monsters still looked at her with terrifying eyes, preparing to tear her apart again, which made Alicia despair. What is this? She didn't want to accept this fact at all. Another failure. That tragedy kept repeating itself. Looking at her now, extremely pitiful, Alicia had failed to escape. She could only let the monsters of this place eat her, becoming prey for the young monsters to practice on. Alicia's gaze gradually became desperate. They are still too young at hunting. She begged nonstop, I don't like this. I'd rather you just kill me. But obviously, they paid no attention to her words. A horrific scene unfolded. The sound of Alicia being gnawed on echoed through the place, as though they can't kill their prey in one blow. Bones gradually piled up in the corner, half-eaten bones slowly accumulating. Similar words were repeated so often that Alicia had lost count of how many times she had died. But lying on the cold ground, Alicia thought, if I marry the Grand Duke now, I won't be able to die either. She even felt sorry for her fate. What a pity, am I not the perfect bride for the Grand Duke? At this thought, a smile appeared on Alicia's face. If he knew about this, maybe the Grand Duke would kneel and beg me to marry him, because this is his chance to get rid of the rumors about killing his duchesses. Realizing something was off, she was a little confused. Why are they taking so long to eat today? The monsters were still gnawing on her body. I don't like pain. Realizing something was wrong, Alicia hurriedly said, wait, if I don't like it. She widened her eyes in confusion. Then why don't I try to kill them right now? Alicia was no longer the naive girl she once was. Why am I only realizing this now? If I don't want to die, then I'll kill them. She slowly stood up, looking at the mountain of bones. Then everything becomes simple. It seemed Alicia had already figured something out. The bones scattered on the ground are very hard, sharp enough for me to use. She didn't hesitate to stab at the monsters with these bones. Unlike me, who can recover even when injured, these monsters have finite lives. Alicia realized she was fully capable of winning. This is a game I'm bound to win. I'll start with the weakest. Finally, she learned how to fight back, and then one by one, all the monsters in this place were killed by her more easily. One by one, Alicia seemed to be immersed in the space here. Her small hand clutched the bone tightly. Blood splattered all over Alicia's face, but she didn't care, just die. One monster after another was continuously attacked by her. In the end, they couldn't resist Alicia's power. For revenge, Alicia didn't forget to taste a piece of their flesh. She spat and cursed coldly. Serves you right, you bastards. Looking at the space here, Alicia asked herself, in the end, why? She didn't want to stay in this dark space anymore. I hid it so deep. The story continues. And the first thing Alicia did after waking up in the monster's lair was to slowly touch that strange object with her hand. Alicia couldn't help but remember the first time she saw this watch. Hide this watch well. It's what brought me here. A look of anticipation appeared on her face. Found it. She recognized this important item, the only thing that could help Alicia know how much time had passed. Alicia knew this watch was the source of everything. While in the monster's lair where no light could penetrate, suddenly, Alicia became unusually pensive. She turned her head to look at the monster before her. Unable to bear it any longer, she kicked at the pile of flesh. How many times has it been? Her emotions seemed to completely erupt. How many times have you killed me? Perhaps Alicia was no longer the girl she once was. No matter how many times you kill me, I will survive, you bastards. There is only hatred in her eyes. You only know how to eat living people. She cursed nonstop. You don't know how painful that is. Her foot stepped directly into the pile of mushy flesh. Realizing something was wrong, Alicia's expression became dazed. From the monster's corpse, a golden crystal suddenly fell out. Out of curiosity, she lowered her head to inspect the crystal. Trying it carefully, she felt extremely confused. What is this? Alicia held up the crystal to examine it closely. The golden light and strange shape made her very curious. What is this? Meanwhile, the scene switched to another place, where the crystal looked like a crest on a sleeve. A voice came from outside. Your Highness, it's Juan. Rickard nodded upon hearing it. Come in. One entered and quickly reported the issue. I'm sorry to disturb your rest, but I have an urgent matter to report. He stared thoughtfully at the space before him. A carriage with the Lane family crest just passed by. There was some disappointment in his voice, so she died again. Seeing this, one was about to speak again to explain the whole situation. It's not like that. It's just that the Marquise's daughter has suddenly disappeared. Hearing this, Rickard laughed in surprise. Are you joking, or is that true? He slowly reached his hand forward, his eyes gradually filling with extreme helplessness, whether she really disappeared or ran away because she hated the marriage. Perhaps her fate is still death. In the dark space, Alicia suddenly raised her weapon to attack, her eyes gradually filling with hatred. April 1st, year 358 of the Benedict calendar. She attacked the giant monster before her without hesitation. The story continues, and Alicia has survived in hell. And now, Alicia has become very powerful. She smiled in anticipation. I have a feeling this time will be good. She seemed all too familiar with life in this place, still alive and well. After defeating the monster, Alicia didn't forget to search inside the monster's corpse. Where are you hiding? She didn't know that someone was secretly watching her from behind. Alicia already had the gem in her hand. Suddenly, that demon rushed straight at her, as if in a sneak attack. She still hadn't noticed, still praising. It's quite big, too. Just as the demon thought he had succeeded, suddenly, his fist swung towards the ground. Alicia leaped into the air and asked coldly, "Who are you?" Her hand gently patted his head. Understanding its actions, her expression gradually changed. You've got some nerve. Alicia showed no mercy, kicking the demon hard in the face, daring to touch someone else's prey. Then she didn't forget to kick him away. You're stealing from others even in hell. You're finished. With contempt in her eyes, she threatened him. Got it? This action stunned the demon on the spot. A tear immediately appeared on his face. Help. Seeing his strange behavior, Alicia was surprised. A talking monster. The demon trembled all over with despair. Having no other choice, he hurriedly bowed his head and begged non-stop. I'm sorry, I didn't realize how powerful you were and tried to steal your magic stone. I'll give you all the magic stones I have. Perhaps he knew he was no match for Alicia. I'll never wander around here again. Please spare my life. Hearing these words, she suddenly fell silent. After thinking for a moment, she suddenly asked, Do you know where this is? The demon quickly replied, It's West Alec. Witnessing these strange things confused Alicia. This place has a name too. She secretly recalled everything from the moment she fell here until now. I only knew this place was hell. When Alicia left the dark cave, the scene before her caught her attention. This space had turned into a very strange place. Thanks to the sentences from a book I read as a child, a red stained by darkness, where the sky is dark red. Through the cracks in the earth, black rocks are gradually revealed. With every breath, hot air fills the whole body. It seems Alicia knew something about this from what she had read in a book. Even at night, the temperature continues to rise. That was in the temple's religious book, Heaven and Hell. Alicia sighed, reminding herself, I can't find anything here. She proceeded to toss the magic stone in front of the demon. Then what is this? Her gaze gradually became expectant. A magic stone that can make me stronger if I eat it. He quickly said what he knew. This is a magic stone. A surprised smile appeared on the demon's face. Such a precious thing, and you just casually place it on the ground. Seeing this, Alicia was curious. Is this very precious? At the mention of these magic stones, his eyes suddenly lit up. Of course it's precious. This is the biggest magic stone I've ever seen. This size is the same as a lord's. He secretly glanced at the magic stones. If I had this, I could become stronger too. Alicia suddenly announced, Then it's yours. This news shocked him, really. She smiled and explained, I'll let you eat it. After confirming her words, the demon was in disbelief. Really? She nodded without hesitation. Really? In return, you have to tell me some things I'm curious about. Afterwards, the demon quickly explained to her that magic stones are crystals of power condensed from magical energy. He knew a lot about this thing called a magic stone. If Alicia wanted to become stronger, hunting the current monsters wasn't enough. In this world, magic stones are extremely rare. The magic stones that appear in the bodies of these wild monsters are just a product of chance. as their amount of magical power is also limited. Alicia listened silently to his words. But we intelligent demons are different. We control magical power to accumulate strength, then hunt each other to seize power and become stronger. Based on this demon's story, she slowly embarked on a new path. So the stronger the demon you hunt, the more power you gain. East Noah, West Alec, South Pens, North Kaya. Looking at the door before her, Alicia thought, those are the four lords, the strongest in hell. Images of angels and monsters flashed through her mind involuntarily. Unable to wait any longer, she slowly opened the shop door. Inside, Alec had been waiting for her from the beginning. So you've come, traveler. Alec smiled and extended his hand to greet Alicia. Welcome to the castle of West Alec. Not wanting to waste time, Alicia charged straight at him. Alec, her expression now became extremely displeased. I'm not curious about who you are. The space here fell silent. After observing the situation, Alicia praised in surprise. The size is not bad. The magic stone in her hand made her very appreciative. As expected, I have to fight someone stronger. Now she was curious about what to do next. Should I go east or north next time? Suddenly, the magic stone gradually shattered before Alicia could absorb it. She happily stretched her hand forward. Well, it doesn't matter which direction I go, I still have plenty of time. Sensing something was wrong, Alicia's face immediately became dazed. She widened her eyes. Wait. Only now did she realize something was wrong. Wait. Alicia's shouts echoed continuously. When she looked closely, a familiar sight met her eyes. This place, it's my room. Her small feet were still dangling on the bed. But immediately after, the figure fell heavily to the ground. Alicia held her head in confusion and asked, I'm back. The space before her surprised her a little. The more Alicia thought, the more confused she became, saying loudly, what's going on? Alicia widened her eyes and looked at herself in the mirror. Younger. I've become younger. She sighed and reached out to gently touch this face. This is indeed my face, but why is it so young? Could it be because of that lord's magic stone? Feeling some pain in her foot, Alicia turned around in surprise. My ankle, I sprained it when I fell just now. Realizing something was wrong, she gradually became dazed. What's going on? She realized the situation seemed to have changed. My ankle, is it just bones left? Becoming weak again after being so powerful perhaps made Alicia feel extremely desperate. My arms too. What's with this weak body? What can I do with arms and legs like these? Let alone a spear. I probably can't even hold a stick steady. She suddenly realized the truth. It seemed Alicia's voice gradually stuttered. I can't. I've lost all my power. She wanted to go back to that place of invincible power. After returning from hell, that power was what I collected from the magic stones. Saying this, Alicia sighed and raised her hand, and now there's nothing left. A knock on the door from outside caught Alicia's attention. While she was still confused, a familiar voice rang out. Miss Alicia, it's Daisy. Daisy continued to propose. May I come in? Alicia turned her head in surprise. She hurriedly looked around the place to see if there was anything unusual. Everything in this place seemed safe. After lying down on the bed, Alicia hurriedly announced, come in. Daisy slowly walked in. Good morning, Miss Alicia. Seeing Alicia still lying there, she was very confused. Did you sleep well? She smiled and nodded, turning her head. Did you sleep well too, Daisy? Looking at Daisy's current appearance, Alicia immediately sat up. Her gaze gradually became incredulous. Daisy. She was still waiting, yes? Her voice rang out. How old are you? Hearing this, Daisy was a bit confused, but still answered my age. After autumn, she didn't forget to say, I'll be 22. Is something the matter, my lady? Unable to accept this fact, Alicia quickly collapsed. This made her worried, and Daisy hurriedly shouted, is anyone there? But Alicia didn't notice this. It's not that I became younger. Daisy became more panicked than ever. Miss Alicia has fainted. She also realized the truth. Instead, I've returned to the past, back to when I was 17. Alicia realized she had truly been reborn at the starting point that had broken her life. Afterwards, the Marquise hurried over to check on Alicia. Her hand gently reached for her forehead. At this moment, Alicia slowly opened her eyes and woke up. I'm so thirsty. Seeing her awake, she became very happy. Alicia, the Marchioness hurried forward to support Alicia's weak body. Drink slowly Be careful not to overdo it. Her mind raced as she kept asking, what happened? I was so surprised when I heard you had fainted. Remembering something, she gently turned her head to look at the Marchioness. Thank you, Mother. Her transformation made her find it hard to believe. Madam, time rewinds to the past. Back then, the maid hurried to catch up with her. Where are you going? Your subordinates hastily tried to stop her. Madam, that'll be difficult. But the Marchioness paid them no mind. Move. She continued walking forward, step by step. Is there anywhere in this mansion I cannot go? Or is there something that only I don't know about? At this time, the servants here gathered and whispered amongst themselves. The madam is heading towards the south gate. We're doomed. No matter how frivolous the Marquis is, he has never made a mistake when it comes to the matter of an heir. They looked worriedly at Alicia's small figure. But not only did he bring an illegitimate child into the mansion, he has also been secretly raising her behind the madam's back until now. Meanwhile, the Marchioness also appeared before Alicia's eyes. Perhaps we'll have to dispose of a body today. She could hesitate no longer and began to question. Are you Alicia? The maid beside her quickly spoke up. Madam, the nanny, I will explain everything. But contrary to what everyone expected, the Marchioness gently knelt on the ground. Hello. A smile appeared on her face. I am your mother. Her attitude surprised Alicia. At that time, Alicia remembered her pitiful past. Miss, you must understand, everything you have received. She was constantly blamed by everyone. Is not yours. People constantly lectured her. The young miss must be grateful for what she has received. This put a lot of pressure on Alicia. But do not try to cross the line. Being too scared, Alicia hid behind the maid's skirt. To the maid's surprise, the Marchioness still did not give up and asked with a smile, Are you surprised by my sudden appearance? Afraid she would overthink it, she made sure to explain. It's true, I appeared suddenly without warning, so I'll leave first. Alicia, you should rest well. Alicia thought to herself, I never expected my mother to be such a beautiful and gentle person. Her expression became very worried. I feel so guilty, but I don't know what to do. She remembered the smile on the Marchioness's face. Alicia, this made her feel even more helpless. My existence is proof of infidelity, which makes me feel very guilty. She always called me Alicia in the warmest tone. She didn't care about the child's parentage so much so that even though I knew my birth mother loved me, the Marchioness still naively called me that. Alicia. But Alicia always kept her distance from her. Yes, Marchioness. She fell in a deep thought and sighed. But I still couldn't change how I addressed her. This made Alicia feel a little regretful. When I was in hell, I regretted it so much. While the Marchioness was still confused, Alicia asked, May I have another glass of water, Mother? Her voice had become more affectionate. Are you that thirsty? A smile finally appeared on the Marchioness's face. I'll go get it for you right away. Her mood gradually became better than ever before. Besides water, is there anything else you need? I'll do anything for you. Just tell me. Having witnessed the scene just now, Daisy was very confused, thinking to herself, it seems the young miss didn't stutter at all just now. The intimacy between the two surprised her even more. But in the end, the madam was called Mother. Daisy walked down the long corridor, asking herself, in just a moment, can a person change to that extent? It seems she realized the abnormality. It's like a person who just escaped from death's door. The Marchioness was still talking to Alicia nonstop. Did you faint because you were too tired? Should I have someone bring you some herbal tea to drink? She gently reached out and touched the back of her hand. Mother. Her voice was somewhat disappointed. My fiancé has been decided as Gregory Barker. This left her blank. How did you? But then she quickly comforted her. You're still very young, Alicia. Alicia had another plan in mind, so the engagement with Gregory Barker hasn't been formally decided yet. She hurriedly voiced her feelings. Actually, I don't really like Gregory. Alicia continued to think, if it's now, maybe I can still turn things around. She wanted a better future, but marriages between nobles are family contracts. Can you help me, Mother? Understanding Alicia's meaning, the Marchioness quickly told her, leave it to me. She said without hesitation, I also hate Gregory Barker. This made her find it hard to believe. Really? As she spoke, she sighed and recounted everything. Although his appearance and personality aren't very similar, he reminds me of your father when he was young. The Marchioness stood up without hesitation and hugged Alicia tightly. So please trust me and leave this matter to me. My daughter. Before leaving, she made sure to tell her, if you don't like it, I won't force you to get married. After that, Alicia stormed in. Vladimir's study. This immediately startled him. Before he could react, she spoke coldly. Please release my mother. Faced with her anger, Waldemar felt very displeased, barging into the head of the family's room without notifying the butler. What kind of insolent behavior is this? He frowned and continued to command, "Go back to your room, Alicia. Be serious, Lane." Now, Alicia was not afraid of his words. After imprisoning the mistress of the family in a room, is that what you want to say? She confronted the man without hesitation. Marquis Valdemar Lane. Seeing Alicia's insolence, Vladimir became even more displeased. "Watch your mouth. There are eyes and ears in the mansion." He spoke coldly to remind her, "Your mother is just ill and needs to recuperate for a while." Alicia glanced in another direction. How desperate. She had already guessed the whole truth. It's not because she needs to rest, but because she opposed my engagement, right? While Waldemar was still feeling displeased, Alicia kept accusing him. "You imprisoned the mistress of the family in a room and are still afraid of outsiders hearing about it. Is your face that important?" Unable to bear it any longer, he immediately reminded her, "Shut up. I said there are many eyes and ears here." But Alicia had no time to care about that. Eyes and ears? What eyes and ears? After a moment of silence, she suddenly spoke. "If the Marchioness," her gaze gradually turned cold as she said, "accidentally took a hammer and smashed her fiancé's head, what would happen to your precious face then?" Seeing such strange behavior from Alicia for the first time made Valdemar furious. "How dare you?" He immediately raised his hand to slap her. "You dare to threaten me?" Her previous words made Alicia find it a little funny. "Threaten? I'm trying hard to restrain the urge to hit you." Her eyes now looked as if they would devour him at any moment. This scene made Valdemar freeze instantly. Did she always have such a look in her eyes? At first, sweat kept trickling down his face. Something very strange was happening. He remembered the old Alicia, the daughter who was always obedient and didn't even dare to say a word of dislike. Her actions just now made Vladimir very suspicious. And yet now she comes to my study and glares at me. He still didn't understand what on earth was happening here. Her eyes were like those of a warrior who had been through countless storms in life. Realizing he was overthinking, Voldemort was startled. "What am I thinking?" Sweat kept trickling down his face. She used to tremble just from looking me in the eye. How could she change so easily? He looked thoughtfully at Alicia's current state. It must be a late-onset puberty. Children are just like that. Not wanting to waste time, Voldemort quickly ordered, "Go back to your room at once." Originally, daring to defy the order of the head of the family is a crime deserving of punishment. His words seemed to be forcing it on Alicia. "But because you are still young, I will not pursue the matter this time. Reflect and repent until you truly feel guilty." But she didn't care about that. Alicia asked coldly, "So what?" Her transformation left Harry blank. "You, what did you say?" She coldly remarked, "Too noisy." Alicia continued to look at Harry's current state. "Brother, he is the second son of Marquis Lane, Harry Malston Lane." Alicia's calmness confused him even more. "You're forbidden from entering the main residence now. So what?" "Huh?" He kept asking. "You've offended the head of the family. Aren't you worried?" Alicia calmly explained to Harry, "It's more comfortable not having to go to that old-fashioned place." Remembering something, Alicia suddenly asked, "But how is Mother?" Harry sighed and narrated. "She has been released from her room. But it seems the Marchioness is still very angry about Voldemar's actions. But after hearing the news about you, she was forbidden from going to the South Gate." Harry's voice continued. "Big Brother is trying to stop her from coming here." The Big Brother, in his words, is the eldest son of Marquis Lane, Felix Henry Lane. Hearing this, Alicia also fell silent. Big Brother is also trying hard, so she hesitated, asking herself, "Is now the time to report my situation to Mother?" The nearby Harry found it a bit amusing. "The way you say that, it makes me think you came for Mother's sake." While she was still blank, he continued to announce, "Alicia, I came here because I was worried about you." This sentence made Alicia freeze on the spot. She suddenly retorted, "Were we that close?" Hearing this, Harry immediately forced a bitter smile. "You may not know it, but I cherish my only sister." While Alicia was still thinking, he sighed. "It feels strange." Finally, she understood everything. "I didn't expect you to have such thoughts." Her gaze gradually became appreciative, but it's not bad either. She looked at Harry's face, which was blushing from embarrassment. "I'm an illegitimate child, and I'm very shy, so it wouldn't be strange if you hated me." He was still muttering to himself. "I feel embarrassed saying this myself." All of this was noticed by Alicia, but I never thought I would be cherished. An indescribable feeling rose in her heart. But it's not bad. Seeing that she seemed a bit strange made Harry curious. Why are you smiling? After a moment of silence, Alicia suddenly asked, what stage is my marriage at? Speaking of this matter, Harry immediately became serious. Everything has been agreed upon between the two families, and now we are just waiting for the royal family's approval before it's announced. Hearing this, she thought to herself, royal approval. He continued to look at her. Do you hate it that much? Alicia's gaze gradually became innocent. Do you remember my debut in high society? Harry smiled and nodded in confirmation. I remember. She remembered the experience of being a laughingstock for everyone that time. So after that, I locked myself in my room for a long time. Alicia comforted herself. It's okay. Even though she felt very embarrassed, I just need to stand up carefully. Hearing the laughter around her made her feel even more uncomfortable. At that time, Gregory came forward and asked with a sarcastic smile, are you okay? Thinking of this, Alicia became even angrier. Gregory Barker was the first person to laugh at me. She sighed and recounted everything about that time. The only debut party of my life ended just like that. Harry's face suddenly became serious. If I kill him now, will it make you feel better? Hearing this, she replied with a smile, even though I know it's impossible, but I'm still very grateful for your sentiment. He sighed, understanding her feelings. I didn't know at that time. I'm sorry. His eyes gradually became very angry. If I can't kill him, then a duel is probably fine as long as I cripple one of his legs. While Harry was still talking, Alicia handed over a letter. Take this. This made him very curious. What is this? Her voice gradually became hesitant as she continued to propose. Please deliver this letter to Grand Duke Tessen. This news made Harry freeze on the spot. What? He turned his head and looked at the letter with suspicious eyes. Alicia's series of strange actions made him very confused. Alicia, what are you thinking? Instead of explaining, Alicia urged him. You must act in secret and as soon as possible. She smiled expectantly. You'll help me, right? After that, Rickard angrily threw the letter down in front of him. The more he thought about it, the more confused he became. The marriage negotiations between the royal family and the Gritz family are top secret. He kept asking, and yet now there's a warning letter saying that my future fiancé is in poor health, so I must be careful. That white-haired man is the butler, Henrik Langes, and the person next to you is the assistant, Roderick Rosa. The two of them listened silently to Rickard's questioning. Where did the information leak from? After a moment of silence, Roderick immediately spoke up to explain. I only learned today that your highness was preparing for a marriage, so it's impossible for the rumor to have spread from within the Grand Duke's residence. Understanding this, Rickard became thoughtful. He quickly ordered, Henrik, wait at the headquarters. Roderick, prepare for a trip. Hearing this, the butler nodded in agreement. Yes, your highness. The nearby Roderick seemed to realize something. Are you perhaps planning to go see that person named Sirius? Rickard tapped his fingers on the table incessantly. The letter says, on the day of waning autumn, at the seven-faced stone of the Dora Temple. His face became unusually serious. That's the meeting place. He continued to gesture. Prepare a few men to follow me. Roderick was about to say more. Your Highness. The butler also hurriedly tried to stop him. Your Highness that. But Rickard's next words made both of them freeze. Get out immediately. After the two left, Rickard sighed. He looked at the letter before him with some exhaustion. It was indeed a letter so ornate it was uncomfortable. His face was somewhat confused. My first marriage. Rickard asked himself. Sirius, who is that? On the other side, Alicia was still deep in thought. Has the letter been delivered? On a clear day, the carriage moved forward nonstop. Alicia suddenly felt anxious. Daisy, how much longer until we reach the Dora Temple? Daisy calmly told her, we're almost there. Watching the time pass by, Alicia felt a little regretful. It's taking more time than I thought. She sighed and looked at the current carriage. Luckily, I had Mother lend me her carriage. If I had taken my own, I might have fainted from motion sickness. As she spoke, a look of anticipation appeared on Alicia's face. As expected of Mother's carriage, it doesn't shake at all. Just as Alicia finished speaking, the carriage suddenly jolted. She felt that something was not right. The carriage seemed to be undergoing a strange change. She sat in confusion, holding her head. What's going on? My head. Alicia thought to herself. The carriage just shook a little, and it became like this. To think that when I was in hell, I was quite at ease. Today's journey was clearly so smooth. Alicia in hell. Back in reality, she held her head wearily. Why was I so weak at 17? Realizing something was wrong, Alicia's gaze gradually grew suspicious. Could be bandits? She sighed. To think that someone would dare to openly rob the carriage of my mother's family? Daisy quickly stood up and told her, I'll go out and see. Her action made Alicia very worried. What? Don't open the door, Daisy. But by this time, Daisy had already accidentally opened the door. Yes, right away. Something hit her, causing her to fall to the ground in pain. This worried Alicia, who rushed over to check the situation. Daisy, wake up. She thought to herself. She's still breathing. Is she unconscious? Noticing the needle on Daisy's neck made her feel a little helpless. It's a poison needle. To think it went through such a narrow gap and hit the back of her neck. Alicia quickly brought the needle to her nose to smell it. Cinnamon and cedar. There's only one poison with that scent. Her thoughts made her feel that something was even more wrong. How could it be here? After thinking it over, Alicia quickly realized. Musto. While Alicia was still confused, Rickard appeared. It's Musto. Meanwhile, Roderick also gently entered the carriage. She's just sleeping soundly and is not in any mortal danger, so there's no need to worry. Pardon the intrusion. He stepped forward to carry Daisy away from here, saying, we cannot leak information about the royal family. I will place her in a safe place. So we had to resort to this method. I hope you can understand. Seeing Alicia still sitting there, Rickard reminded her, get out of the carriage, Miss Alicia. He stared at her coldly. Or should I call you Sirius? Seeing Rickard for the first time, Alicia was somewhat surprised. Golden hair like forged gold, skin as white as snow, and eyes as clear as a stream. His appearance was vastly different from the rumors she had heard. I heard he has a very fierce appearance and didn't inherit the family's features. This made her very confused, but he's very handsome. Rickard was still continuously giving orders to his subordinates. Wait right here until I call for you. Rickard looked at Alicia and then thought to himself. Looking at her, it's really impossible to imagine she's the one who wrote that letter. She was still sizing up her current clothes. This dress, this made him somewhat pensive. Perhaps in the eyes of others, I look like I'm attacking a pitiful woman. Before Alicia could speak to greet him, he said, Miss Lorena of the Gritz family has a heart condition. Hearing this, she smiled and turned to look at him. Is that so? Rickard continued. With such a weak body, he revealed what he knew. She might not be able to withstand the perilous journey to Tessen. I heard that within that family, only blood relatives and personal maids know about this. The more he thought, the more confused he became. Why would she know? Alicia smiled and turned to look at him. Are you curious? Out of courtesy, Rickard extended his hand to her. Let's get out of the carriage. Looking at the empty space here, she was very confused. But this isn't the meeting place in the letter. Alicia smiled and walked forward. All right, I'm just a few more steps away. Seeing him still standing there, she urged, let's go. Rickard asked himself thoughtfully. I heard that the Marquis's daughter of the Lane family is very shy. How strange. While she was still feeling confused, he immediately started moving. Can I refuse that question? Remembering something made Rickard curious. But why did she set the meeting place here? She smiled and turned her head to explain. Because I wanted to confirm something. What Alicia noticed was the stone pillar right in front of her. So the 7 stones of Dora are a sundial. The two walked side by side as she continued. From morning to evening is the time of this world, and from evening to dawn is the time of another world. Alicia remembered her experience in the underworld. So when the sun shines, non-human beings will not be able to set foot in the ruins. As she spoke, she secretly glanced at Rickard. I wonder if your highness has ever entered this place? He explained seriously. This is the first time. What about the young miss? While he was still walking, she suddenly stopped. Alicia's action made Rickard very confused. Aren't you going to keep walking? She said with a smile. You go first. Realizing Alicia was still standing there, he kept thinking, what is she plotting? Setting a trap in the ruins? Meanwhile, behind him, she forced a bitter smile. What if I can't get in? Rickard continued to walk forward, thinking, if there's a trap, I'll just break it. After a moment of silence, Alicia suddenly spoke. Your Highness, you are human. Seeing this, he turned his head in confusion. What? The light shining on him made him feel a little tired. Alicia's voice rang out. If you couldn't enter the ruins, wouldn't you be scared? She looked at him coldly. Then you wouldn't be human. Her words caught his attention. It seems she believes the rumors about me being a demon. But he still answered calmly. Why should I be scared? It's just a big rock. She smiled lightly and said, Your Highness is very brave. After getting the answer she wanted, Alicia thought to herself, what if this ruin is real? The underworld exists. she suddenly realized something important. Then maybe the sundial, the thing that helps distinguish between humans and other beings, is also real. Time seemed to stop in this place. Alicia realized the boundary between the two. But if that's the case, a person who fell into hell and returned to the past. Her steps gradually moved forward. Will I be considered human? She was secretly anticipating something. What if I'm not? When Alicia took a step, nothing happened. Rickard was still watching her actions blankly. Before he could understand what was happening, she suddenly turned her head, smiled, and said, "I'm human too." This startled Rickard. She's really a strange girl. Suddenly, Alicia approached, smiling happily. "Thank you for waiting for me." "Thanks to you. I've answered my question." The closing distance between them made her realize something. Alicia quickly stepped back and said with a smile, "First, I should formally greet you." Her demeanor gradually became calm. "I am serious, the person who sent the letter to the Grand Duke." But Alicia's smile was still just as dazzling. "Alicia Sirius Lane." Hearing her introduce her name, Rickard nodded politely. "I know, you're the Marquis's daughter of the Lane family." She smiled and continued to look at him. "Since you already know, then everything will be easier." At this moment, Alicia suddenly knelt on the ground. "Rickard Tessen, Grand Duke." This move made Rickard freeze again. She reached out her hand to him without hesitation. "Please marry me." Time seemed to stop in this place. He thought to himself, this woman is not just strange. His face gradually turned pale. She's also crazy. Seeing that Rickard still didn't react, Alicia continued to call out, "Grand Duke." She continued her proposal without hesitation. "Please marry me." The more he listened, the more speechless he became. Understanding Rickard's reaction, she sighed and said, "It is indeed a bit sudden, but your highness will not suffer any loss." His voice suddenly became low. "You think I came all this way here?" He was very displeased with her actions. "Was it just to listen to you spout this nonsense?" Ignoring Alicia, who was kneeling on the ground, Rickard walked forward. What a waste of time. His rejection left her stunned. Having no other choice, she hurriedly shouted, "Wait." Alicia's situation became even more awkward. "You haven't heard my full proposal yet." He started walking again. "I don't want to hear it." While he was still thinking, Alicia explained, "Aren't you curious why I know about the royal marriage?" Rickard still ignored her. "I'm not curious." His cold attitude made Alicia very embarrassed. "Come on, you must be curious." She didn't notice his frowning face. "Grand Duke." At this moment, Rickard's uncomfortable eyes widened as he looked ahead. "There's still a long time. It seems he's hiding a secret. It's only the Lewis cycle." His gaze gradually became anxious, and he glanced behind him. "Is it because I'm too far from my territory?" He told himself, "I must return to the Tessen territory as soon as possible." Seeing this, Alicia curiously approached. "What's wrong, Grand Duke?" She kept asking, "Are you all right?" Grand Duke. Before he could react, Alicia quickly reached out her hand. "Your Highness." When he saw her hand, Rickard's eyes gradually filled with terror. "Grand Duke, can you hear me?" Unable to bear it any longer, he suddenly shouted, "Don't touch me." It seemed that the Rickard of that moment had completely turned into another person. Seeing Alicia's current state, he hurriedly said, "I'm fine." His behavior made Alicia very angry. Rickard's eyes suddenly widened in surprise, as if he had realized something. "Since when has she been holding my hand?" Her expression was very serious as she proposed, "Let me help you to the carriage." Time seemed to stop, and Rickard didn't know what to do either. He suddenly became silent. That voice! A gentle breeze blew past, and Rickard still couldn't believe this fact. That voice has stopped. He looked at Alicia with eyes full of disbelief. Is it because of this girl? Seeing that Rickard still didn't react, Alicia immediately went blank. "Huh? Is he angry because I held his hand without permission?" Feeling a little awkward, she quickly let go of his hand. But then, Rickard suddenly grabbed her hand again. This left Alicia no time to react, and she rushed forward. As she fell into Rickard's arms, he quickly said, "Don't let go." His constant changes made Alicia very confused. After that, the two sat on a chair, holding each other's hands tightly. Feeling that something was not right, she slowly turned her head. Alicia realized that Rickard was holding her hand. Are we going to continue our conversation like this? Because he really didn't want to, but he could only say helplessly, "This is the condition to continue our conversation." So his expression gradually became desperate. "What are you going to do to me?" Hearing this, she smiled. "Right now." Without hesitation, Alicia quickly proposed, "Please marry me, if you agree." Before Rickard could react, she continued, "Then I will predict the future for you 4 times a year." Of course, these words made Rickard very suspicious. He sighed, finding it too absurd. He went on to explain, "How could I believe that kind of prophecy?" Alicia smiled innocently, turning to look at him. "Didn't you come here precisely because the contents of the letter were completely accurate?" There was some truth to Alicia's words, leaving Rickard at a loss for a rebuttal. After a moment of thought, he quickly spoke. "If you were in your right mind, you wouldn't say something like wanting to marry me." Remembering something, Rickard turned to look at her. So, who is the person I need to help you get rid of? Seizing the opportunity, Alicia hurriedly said a name. Gregory Barker. Hearing the name, he became thoughtful. Barker, he thought, although a conflict with the Barker family would result in significant losses. Rickard's gaze suddenly paused. But this girl holds clues about the ordeal and the curse. I must honor this deal. After weighing his options, Rickard nodded in agreement. All right. His next words stunned Alicia, "But we can't get married right away." She asked why, confused. Before she could react, he continued to explain, "Let's get engaged first. There's no need to marry. That alone will be enough to deal with Barker." Alicia listened to his words silently. "That I will treat you well as the Grand Duke's fiancée. Is that so? Then, is there anything else you need?" Seeing the matter resolve so easily was unbelievable to Alicia. "I trust you'll know what to prepare yourself." She suddenly turned to look at him and said something very puzzling. "I'm an ambitious woman, just so you know." Hearing this, he nodded in agreement. "I'll keep that in mind." After they finished discussing the matter, Alicia smiled. "We're done talking, then?" She held up the hand that Rickard was gripping tightly. "So, can you let go now?" Her words made him pause for a moment. Having no choice, he could only release her hand. "I understand." Seeing her plan succeed, Alicia was very pleased. "Then I'll be in your care from now on." Grand Duke. With a hint of concern in his eyes, Rickard explained, "I'm the one who needs to be in your care." On a clear day, the cries of vendors echoed through the streets. "Extra! Extra!" A boy holding newspapers quickly solicited the crowd. A constant buzz of discussion arose. "Have you heard? The Grand Duke of Tessen is engaged. It seems to be some lady from the north. I've never heard the name. It seems the Grand Duke has been bewitched." It seemed to be a widely discussed topic. The engagement gift is Bernardo Wells' posthumous work, The Written Castle. They were very curious about the matter. A room made of gold in the Lila Mansion, a key strategic location between the capital and the south and the entire Echoaria territory. It seems he gave everything away. Many people were even asking, who is this Alicia Lane to receive all this? At home, Alicia was still practicing continuously. "No matter how much I practice, it's all useless without a magic stone." Just then, Harry ran over, shouting loudly, "Alicia." He pointed at the newspaper with a panicked expression. "What is this in the paper?" The newspaper clearly stated the information. Lady Alicia becomes the master of the Echoaria territory. This surprised Alicia. She turned her head and said, putting other things aside, "The rumors have already reached the north." She unhesitatingly picked up the newspaper to look closely. How thorough. "But I'm a main character, so why is everyone talking about the Grand Duke?" Harry replied, somewhat speechless. You're not that famous in high society." Realizing something was amiss, he pressed on. "No, that's not important. You said you were going to the temple to pray. What is all this about?" Her next words left him utterly speechless. "I lied." Alicia continued to ignore Harry, reading a new article that a salt mine was discovered during mining operations, now recruiting investors. Unable to stand it any longer, he quickly snatched the newspaper from her hand. He shouted with a face full of anger, "Stop reading." Harry's action confused Alicia. "Didn't you bring it for me to see?" She thought, "How did my brother become like this?" Noticing something, her gaze immediately darted to the side. A servant leading a tall white horse came before the two of them. "My lady, what you asked for is ready." Alicia's eyes immediately lit up. "That it's ready?" Harry asked in confusion. "A horse? You've never ridden a horse before." But she still paid him no mind and continued running towards the white horse. Alicia proceeded to leap onto the horse. She smiled, turned her head, and explained, "I've learned before." Hearing this, Harry's mood gradually soured. "Liar." The horse's hooves faltered. Alicia's gaze froze. After a moment of silence, she smiled and proposed, "I'll show you." Just then, a servant hurried over, shouting, "Young master." He seemed very anxious. You must go to the main residence now. Harry still didn't understand what was happening. What's wrong? The servant worriedly turned to look behind him. That is. Noticing Alicia's gaze, he continued in a low voice. It's a bit inconvenient to speak here. Why don't you head over first? Seeing no other choice, Harry smiled and announced to Alicia, I have to go. He didn't forget to remind her. I'll be right back, so don't you dare cause any trouble. Alicia smiled and waved nonstop. She watched Harry's back as he hurriedly left the place. A strange smile suddenly appeared on her face. Alicia quickly directed the white horse to turn around. She took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. Then she exhaled slowly, and the horse began to charge forward. Alicia thought, my original plan was to jump from the 12th step. In this space, she had constantly practiced various techniques. If the maids hadn't stopped me in time, perhaps my legs would have been broken long ago, and I'd be stuck in my room now. Although I still remember how to control my body, no matter how hard I exercise or train. Alicia's small hand gripped a tree trunk tightly. There's still clear limits. She could easily climb the tree in a graceful manner. It's still okay for now. Then she charged forward again. Alicia's steps were very hurried. She leaped lightly into the air. Step by step, Alicia's body swung between the trees. The thing I remember most clearly after returning from hell is, just then, Alicia's hand accidentally slipped. Damn it. And so she fell heavily onto the ground below. The magic stone. Thinking of her current weak power, Alicia felt very helpless. As expected, it's still no good. She remained lost in her thoughts. If I rely only on effort, I can't obtain power like that of a magic stone. Seeing Alicia's earlier actions left Ryukard speechless. Does everyone in the Lane family train like this? Seeing this, she hurriedly turned around and reacted, Grand Duke. Her expression gradually became confused. Why are you here? Ryukard slowly extended a hand to her. I'm here for the investiture ceremony. Out of habit, Alicia touched him. Thank you. Even her eyes reflected Rykard's hand. What surprised her most was the yellow stone embedded in his cuff. While Alicia was still puzzled, Rickard asked, what are you doing? She withdrew her hand, stood up, and said with a smile, I was just exercising. This action made him pause. Though somewhat displeased, he could only say, this kind of special training would be effective if used on knights. But for a lady, it's just exercise. Alicia smiled and shook her head. All right, let's just forget about that. Looking at her now, he found it a bit amusing. Brush the leaves off your head first. Alicia hurriedly reached up. Sit here. Seeing Rickard still standing there, she immediately fumbled in other directions. We're here. Having no choice, Rickard reached out his hand to her. Pardon me. He gently removed the leaf stuck in her hair. His expression was calm. There, seeing Alicia standing motionless, Rickard was very confused at my lady. He hurriedly took a step back and called out, Lady Alicia. Unfortunately, because he was so surprised, Rickard accidentally slipped. And so Alicia's body also fell into his arms. Alicia. Just as Rickard was still trying to figure out the situation, Alicia suddenly spoke. At first, I thought I saw it wrong. Her hand had, at some point, tightly gripped his, but now I'm sure. Seeing the situation was a bit awkward, Rickard hurriedly urged, My lady, let go. He thought in confusion, if I push her away, she'll get hurt. Alicia's voice rang out, Your Highness. She spoke without hesitation, Please give me that button. Before he could understand what was happening, she placed her hand on his face. Give it to me. Alicia thought, I'm sure of it. It seemed she had realized something. This is a magic stone, and that was also the reason Alicia was speaking in such a fawning tone. Please give me the button. Give it to me. Seeing this, Rickard was a little speechless. I knew it. He sighed and slowly withdrew his hand, leaving Alicia stunned. What a shame. Before Alicia could understand, Rickard continued, This is an item passed down to the Duke of Tessen, so it's a bit difficult. Hearing this, she asked curiously, Is that so? A thought flashed through her mind. Should I steal it? He immediately reminded her. First of all, Rickard's face had, at some point, turned red. Please get off me. Seeing the situation, Alicia hurriedly moved back, sorry. He also quickly sat up. It's all right. After tidying his clothes, he calmly told her, I can't give it to you, but there are some similar gems in Tessen. I'll try to look for one and give it to you as a gift next time. His words made Alicia very happy, really. Rickard continued, extending his hand. I can't guarantee I'll find one. Hearing this, she smiled and nodded that it's okay. I just need to know it exists. And Alicia had also discovered something important. Magic stones appear in Tessen. She quickly caught up to Ryukard. "Let's go together, Grand Duke." Remembering something, she suddenly said something very puzzling. "In that case, should I repay you in advance for the gift you're going to give me?" This made Ryukard turn to look at her curiously. "It won't snow this winter." Alicia stood there, continuously speaking of what she knew. "Instead, from the last week of March to early April, there will be an unusual amount of heavy snow." These words stunned Ryukard. Is it true? He suddenly realized the truth. If it snows heavily in March and April, then many people in the territory could die. This made him think, then I must prepare a way to deal with it. After speaking, Alicia didn't forget to announce, "This one is my gift to you, so it won't be deducted from the number of prophecies." Her expression caught Rykard's attention. That confident expression, she's telling the truth. Although there were many more things he wanted to ask, he could only turn to leave. "I haven't given you the gem yet, so thank you. Thanks to you, my territory will suffer fewer losses." Hearing this, Alicia smiled, continuing to walk forward. "I hope I can be of help to your highness." At this point, she could already see everyone still waiting there. Seeing this, Daisy quickly reported, "He's here." Alicia was a bit confused. "Daisy?" Roderick hurriedly handed over an item. "Your Highness, this is what you asked for." She was still drawing a blank. "Why are so many people gathered here?" Just then, Ryukard took a step closer to her. "Lady Alicia, I'd like to give you a few things." Without much thought, Alicia nodded in agreement. "Yes, Grand Duke." While the two were still talking, a servant at the side continued to announce, "Your Highness, Marquis Felix is waiting in the reception room of the main residence." This made Alicia turn to look at him suspiciously. "Did you come straight to the annex when you arrived?" Ryukard explained to her, "I came to see you, Lady Alicia." His gaze was somewhat uncomfortable as he said coldly, "All of you withdraw." Though reluctant, everyone could only nod. "Yes, Grand Duke." Before everyone left, Alicia called out repeatedly, "Daisy, Daisy." She hurriedly gestured to her in a low voice, "I'm done exercising. Take the horse back to the stable." Seeing Daisy nod in understanding, Alicia was very pleased. "Thank you." At this moment, Ryukard asked again, "Are you finished?" Seeing him suddenly appear beside her, she felt very dazed. "Your Highness." Ryukard thoughtfully opened the box in his hand. "Now it's my turn." Before Alicia's astonished gaze, the box slowly opened. Precious jewels came into view. "This is Duchess Margarita's ruby jewelry set." Alicia's eyes immediately lit up. "Are you giving this to me?" While she was still confused, Ryukard continued to explain. "Because from the past until now, Duchess Margarita's ruby jewelry set has always been paired with the title of Countess of Aubria." He gently turned to look at Alicia. "You are now the Countess of Echoaria, so you can wear it when necessary." She nodded excitedly. "I will." Looking at her now, Ryukard was confused. "Does it require that much determination?" She answered firmly, "Yes." This made Ryukard notice that she also had a rather cute side. He suddenly asked, "How much do you know about the royal family?" Alicia was immediately stunned. "Why is he suddenly testing me?" She spoke without hesitation. "I know that the emperor has a total of 5 princes and 1 princess, including the current emperor." She thought to herself, "The second prince, Duke Bay, died in an accident 7 years ago." She continued to recall the next in line. "The third prince is Marquis Lennox, and the 4th prince is Countess Devoured. Following them is Ryukard, the 5th prince, the Grand Duke of Cess." The last one she mentioned in her thoughts was Princess Louise, while Duchess Lauren is his half-sister. Understanding what Alicia was getting at, Ryukard thought, "So you do have basic knowledge." Hearing this, she smiled smugly. "I may look like this, but my hobby is reading." This made him look at her with a skeptical gaze. "I'll have a royal tutor teach you the rest, so you can learn that exercise routine of yours. It's best to keep it a secret." Before leaving, Ryukard didn't forget to add, "Well then, I'll see you at the investiture ceremony." Alicia smiled and nodded. "After I've chosen the color of my gown, I'll contact the Grand Duke's residence." He felt a little expectant. "Thank you, then." Suddenly, Ryukard leaned in close to her face. He suddenly whispered a few words in her ear. This made Alicia's eyes widen as she looked at him. "Is it true?" He made no attempt to hide it, nodding firmly. "I saw it with my own eyes, so I'm very certain." Afterwards, Rykard's horse slowly moved forward. Before leaving, he didn't forget to add a few words. "I hope this is helpful to you." Alicia stood there, watching his departing figure. A strange feeling suddenly welled up inside her. "He comes and goes like the wind." She sighed and immediately turned in another direction. That he came here without any warning, which surprised me greatly, but it seems he's better than I imagined. As soon as she entered the house, the servants surrounded her, asking, "Lady Alicia, since when did your relationship become like this?" Everyone looked at her with very worried eyes. "My lady, are you all right? What did the Grand Duke say?" This reaction left Alicia speechless. She thought these people didn't dare say a single word in front of the Grand Duke. Her gaze gradually turned cold. And yet now, Alicia slowly opened her mouth. Except for Daisy. She couldn't stand it anymore and shouted loudly, "Then all of you get out." Seeing Alicia's anger, no one dared to approach. Seeing no other choice, a servant hurriedly said, "It seems the young lady is tired. I'll take my leave then." Seeing this, the others also proposed, "It seems it's time to prepare dinner. I'll be leaving as well." "Me too." Only Daisy remained. After a moment of silence, she quickly asked, "Since you're done exercising, my lady, I'll go prepare some tea." Alicia smiled, tightly hugging the gift box in her hands. "No need. I have something to do right now." She looked at her with expectant eyes. "Daisy." It seemed Alicia couldn't wait any longer. "Let's get ready to leave." She hurriedly gave the order, "We're going to the Echoaria territory." Recalling the scene between the two of them earlier left Alicia somewhat pensive. At that time, he had whispered a few words to her. Marquis Lane won't be returning to the territory for a while. This seemed to be wonderful news for Alicia. Because he dared to oppose the Emperor's order to cancel the engagement with Gregory, he has to stay in the capital for some time. She couldn't help but think of his terrifying face. If I want to do something, now is the best time. Thinking of this, Alicia quickly proposed, "First, we must leave this territory." Afterwards, the iron chains on the main gate continuously made strange noises. A loud voice suddenly rang out, "Open the gate." This made Harry run downstairs in a great hurry. For no reason. "What's going on?" he asked in confusion. "Is father back?" The Duchess quickly said, "Harry, come down slowly." Felix, at the side, was very confused. "Didn't you hear any news, mother?" With a somewhat pensive look on her face, she replied, "I didn't hear anything." But she immediately broke into a very happy smile. "I knew it." Every time, he deliberately announces it in advance, only satisfied when the whole family comes out to greet him. If I had heard anything, I would have prepared long ago. Remembering something was amiss, Harry was a little surprised. Wait. He couldn't help but think of Alicia's beautiful face. At this moment, Harry hurriedly asked, "Where's Alicia?" At the same time, the main gate was hastily opened. The servants quickly greeted him. "The master of the house has returned." But it seemed Voldemar was furious. "Alicia!" He screamed nonstop in anger. "Alicia, get out here!" Looking around, Voldemar was about to go mad. "Not here, and not here either." He gritted his teeth in fury. "That little thing didn't come out to greet me. She's lost her mind." Seeing Voldemar's direction, the servants were very confused. "Marquis, what are you doing at the south gate?" he asked angrily. "Where's Alicia's room?" A subordinate quickly spoke up to report, "The young lady's room is over there." Hearing the answer he wanted seemed to drive him mad. "Out of my way." Voldemar walked to Alicia's door and, in front of everyone, opened it. He suddenly shouted, "Alicia Lane!" But the room was at some point already empty. Seeing the situation was not good, Felix hurriedly reminded him, "Father, many people are watching." Not seeing Alicia made Voldemar nearly go mad. Unable to bear it any longer, he shouted frantically, "The Marquis's daughter has suddenly disappeared." His voice was like an explosion, and yet no one knows where she is. "Don't you all find this unreasonable?" The Duchess stepped forward and announced coldly, "That child has gone to Echoaria." The expression on Voldemar's face gradually changed. "What are you talking about?" Without hesitation, she stepped forward, one step at a time. Facing his questioning, her face was very calm. "My lady." While he still thought the Duchess was spouting nonsense, she repeated again, "Alicia said she went to Echoaria." Voldemar's emotions also gradually calmed down. "So what exactly happened?" Sitting in the room, she explained with a smile, "The child left a letter. It seems that because she received the territory and title, she wanted to go see her domain." Hearing this, his expression immediately changed. "What?" He berated her non-stop. "If she said something so unreasonable, you should have stopped her." Even as he said this, the Duchess didn't pay much mind. "How could I have done that?" Before Voldemar could react, she continued, "When I'm not even allowed to go to the south gate, how could I stop her?" That was the first time Voldemar felt helpless. "What?" Thinking of everything that had happened, his head throbbed. "Marine, because of such a small thing, I've become like this." The Duchess still had a gentle smile on her face that I'm just telling the truth. Why are you being like this? These words made him freeze. The attitude on her face also gradually changed. This is the first time the child has shown what she dislikes. She recalled the time Daisy appeared before her. Alicia sent me a letter. She had nodded seriously in agreement. Yes, my lady. The Duchess's voice continued to ring out. That child called me mother. The letter clearly recorded Alicia's words. Before father returns to the mansion, please help me stall for a little time so that I can live here. I'm counting on you. This moved me greatly. She begged me to say this. The Duchess turned to look at Valdemar. Oh, please, let it end here. Her gaze gradually became sad, reminding him, don't use your child as a tool. Unable to bear it any longer, he suddenly stood up. Enough, be quiet. His face became very calm as he announced, once born into this family, it is a noble's duty to contribute to the family. I will send people to Echoaria to bring Alicia back. Valdemar quickly walked out of the room. Once that child returns, you, my lady, will be free to come and go from the south gate. His action surprised the Duchess. She immediately sighed wearily. This should be enough time stalled, right? Suddenly, she felt a little worried. Has Alicia arrived? The scene switches to another location. A large gate slowly opens. Many people were already waiting there. Please come in, my lady. This scene made it impossible for Alicia to hide her surprise. While she was still stunned, Petunia smiled and quickly introduced herself. You must be tired from your long journey. I am Petunia Rokas, the one who will help you, my lady, learn royal etiquette and adapt to palace life. This made her very excited. What a surprise. I came in such a hurry, yet I've received such a warm welcome. Alicia quickly replied, thank you for the welcome. Countess Rokas, remembering something, she turned in another direction. It is my honor. But the Grand Duke told me in advance that you must be tired from your long journey, so I prepared a room for you to rest. She pointed to a girl with cute pink hair. Annie will be taking care of Lady Alicia from now on. Annie smiled and said, hello, my lady. I will show you the way. Looking at the girl's face, Alicia was very interested. This kind of warmth is rare in the Marquis's residence. Alicia immediately proposed, I'll be in your care from now on, Annie. On the way to Alicia's room, Annie walked and said happily, the master said you would be coming here, so we were very excited. We redecorated the mansion so that you could rest comfortably. She gripped the large doors tightly. Her voice was a little proud. The bedroom the master will be using from now on. Do you like it? The vast space here made Alicia very satisfied. She smiled, turned her head, and told her, I like it very much. Seeing her so happy, Annie felt very content. I'm glad you like it, my lady. I'll take my leave then. After admiring the space, Alicia happily muttered to herself, I heard this is Bernardo Wells' final work. This place is as beautiful as the rumors say. Daisy. But Daisy's voice rang out, my lady. She felt very suspicious that weren't we supposed to go to Echoaria? The sight before her made it impossible for Daisy to hide her surprise. This place is... She seemed to have realized something. The capital. Understanding her thoughts, Alicia smiled and asked, the investiture ceremony is just around the corner. What will we do in Echoaria? She turned her head without hesitation and said, Daisy, let's go shopping. Although a little surprised, Daisy still nodded in agreement. Yes. Alicia paid no mind to anything else and said with a smile, we've already made it to the capital, so let's go have some fun. The scene switches to a perfume shop. She thought to herself, just as the rumors say, these perfume bottles are so dazzling. The things in this space fascinated her. The old me probably couldn't have imagined this. I can't believe I'd set foot in the capital, let alone visit a perfume workshop. Alicia thought, usually I'd be cooped up in the study reading books. She suddenly pointed ahead that I want to try this perfume. The attendant heard her and nodded in agreement. We'll prepare it for you. Her movements were very swift as she took some perfume for her to sample. Just as Alicia was comfortably smelling the fragrance, the attendant continued to ask, do you like this scent? The figure of a woman slowly approached. Alicia calmly turned to look back. She's here. The red-haired woman quickly introduced herself. I am Katrina, the perfumer of Vale. Alicia knew about her. Katrina, the perfume genius from the Western continent. This is the person who will create the Vale perfume series. It seems she's no ordinary person. A woman who, in the future, will become famous for a perfume that will shake the empire and cause a sensation across the continent. While Alicia was still thinking, Katrina continued, because this is the first time you've smelled this fragrance, I couldn't help but take the liberty of coming over to ask. If I have been rude, please forgive me. This made her even more certain that Katrina would create the Vale series in the future. First, I have to get to know her. Alicia turned her head and praised, "This scent is very pure." She continued to state her feelings, because this fragrance changes according to each person's body scent. It seems the information Alicia was looking for was very helpful. So this is like a perfume made just for you. It's truly special. Seeing Alicia research so meticulously made Katrina very proud, and I'm glad you can feel the care put into this scent. She replied with a smile, "I'm also very happy to have met such a skilled perfumer like you." Her face gradually turned red. "It's my honor, my lady." After looking for a moment, Alicia pointed ahead, "Then I'll buy this perfume." And her next words left Katrina stunned in surprise. "Next time, I'd like to try a perfume you've blended at my mansion." Thoughts kept surfacing in her mind. "You're just a stranger from the Western continent. You do have some skill, but your origins are still humble. You do what I tell you to do. How dare a lowly merchant like you defy me?" Alicia didn't notice Katrina's strange expression and continued to ask, "May I invite you over?" This made her very grateful, and she nodded in agreement. "It would be my honor." After settling things with Katrina, Alicia walked out briskly. Daisy, beside her, was very surprised. "I didn't know you had such a deep understanding of perfumes, my lady." Without hesitation, Alicia immediately switched on her performance mode. "I didn't know either." She thought to herself, "Because I know she will succeed in the future, I pretended to know everything." She couldn't help but recall the moment she smelled the perfume earlier. Then Alicia continued to analyze her own actions. "Thanks to what I've seen and heard so far, I was able to say something so convincing. If you don't know anything in the capital, you'll be looked down upon." She changed the subject, looking back at Daisy. "Actually, I don't know which one is the best either. My knowledge in this area is very shallow, but was quite convincing, wasn't it?" She was also praised. "You look just like someone who lives here, my lady." This made Alicia very happy. "That's great. Hurry, we still have many places to visit." Afterwards, she chose a new dress for herself. "This is wonderful, I'll buy it." Looking at herself in the mirror, Alicia was very satisfied. "I'll buy it." Starting from there, she continuously picked out luxury goods from the tables. Come on, the current Alicia had transformed into a rich lady. "I'll take them all." Expensive gifts were bought by her one after another. This made the sellers very happy. "Thank you so much, madam." Alicia's behavior left Daisy at her side, speechless. Seeing this, she noticed her expression. "Daisy, are you tired?" At this, she quickly shook her head and said, "Not tired, my lady." Alicia continued to walk briskly forward. "Let's push on a little more." She looked at the small wooden house before her without hesitation. This is the final stop. Inside the house, the man was still working nonstop. Discovering Alicia also at this place made him very surprised. "Why are you here?" Alicia smiled, turned her head, and explained, "I'm here to place an embroidery order." Hearing this, he nodded and replied, "The embroidery shop is on the second floor." He turned his head towards the second floor. "Judith, a new customer is here." The figure of a young girl quickly ran down. "Yes, uncle." Noticing Alicia was still waiting, she smiled and told her, "The embroidery shop is this way. Please come this way." After Alicia and Daisy went upstairs, Judith said with a smile, "I'll prepare some tea. Please wait a moment." "I'm sorry, it's a bit messy here." There was some awkwardness in her voice. "If I had known a guest was coming, I would have cleaned up beforehand." Alicia looked at the space, not blaming her, but instead praising. "It's all right. It's beautiful here too." As she placed the teacup on the table, she looked a bit awkward. "Thank you for the compliment." At this point, she introduced herself. "My name is Judith Perlman. You can call me Judith. I haven't read many books, so I don't know if this is the right way to greet you." Hearing this, Alicia quickly got to the point. "I'm Alicia. I heard your embroidery skills are excellent, and it seems you also take custom orders. Is that right?" These compliments made Judith very excited. "Are my skills really so good that word has spread?" Seeing the time was right, she turned and signaled to Daisy, "Bring that out." Daisy held the box and slowly came forward. "Yes, my lady." Alicia handed a roll of paper to her. "I've brought the design. Could you take a look?" She looked at the design before her, somewhat surprised. "Can it be embroidered based on just this?" Judith went on to notice a very strange design. Seeing the time was right, Alicia turned and signaled for Daisy to step back. She heard and nodded in understanding. "Yes, my lady." At this moment, Judith's mood changed completely. Alicia continued, "Only I know about this matter, so there's no need to worry." She calmly looked at her face, which still held a forced smile. I took such a long detour precisely so no one would discover this was the destination. Judith stood there, listening to Alicia speak nonstop. Thanks to that, the unknowing Daisy had to suffer a bit. The first floor is a shoe factory. She remained focused on speaking, not noticing Judith behind her holding a pair of scissors. Daisy has been walking for a long time. Her feet must hurt. Or perhaps you could give her a pair of shoes. Judith's expression changed instantly, and she rushed forward. Who on earth are you? Without hesitation, Alicia tossed her fan into the air. Who is the most famous person in the capital right now? As she attacked, she also used her fan to block. After blocking the blow, Alicia continued to declare the sole heir of the Croat family, the largest intelligence group on the continent. It turned out she had already recognized the identity of the woman before her, Judith Perlman. Looking at Alicia's skills now, Judith was a bit speechless. What a fine lady, with the strength of an ox. While she was still puzzled, Alicia said with a smile, I just want to be friends with you. It seems she has her own plan. The Croat family. Judith became very wary, staring at her. There are 6 people who lead the Croat family, including the master. She was still talking nonstop. Everyone already knows these things. Judith secretly glanced to the side. I think I put the fabric cutter in that basket. Alicia's next words shocked her, but 8 years ago, 6 farms and shops near the capital were burned down at the same time. Judith's eyes widened in disbelief. That incident was quite big, so it was reported in the news, right? But no one expected that 6 families were attacked that day. Alicia knew this story better than anyone. They were the 6 people who once led the Croat family. Time flashes back to the past. A desperate voice rings out, no. Poor Judith screamed endlessly in despair. Let me go. My mom and dad are still inside, though very reluctant. The man could only helplessly pull her away from the place. It's too late. At least you have to live. You must live so you can do something. Seeing the house burn to the ground with her own eyes made her utterly desperate. I don't want to. Let me go, I beg you. The fire was burning everything right before Judith's eyes. No. Eventually, the fire gradually died down, and Judith's life of hardship began from then on. Everything was gradually burned, with no survivors, but only one house. Alicia kept recounting the story she knew. The little girl's body was never found. At this point, Judith suddenly shouted, "Shut up." She helplessly picked up a knife and handed it to Alicia. You should go back. Before she could react, she had already lowered her head, looking at the ground. The Croat family no longer exists. In contrast to Judith's cowardice, Alicia appeared very calm. If you keep running away like this. The next words left her stunned. Then it really will disappear. Unable to bear it any longer, Judith screamed endlessly in despair. What do you know? Perhaps what she didn't know was that Alicia seemed to have all the information. I know who betrayed the Croat family. Judith's voice gradually stuttered. What are you talking about? Alicia slowly pushed the knife aside. I know who betrayed the Croat family. She continued to look at her and proposed, Judith, I will help you get your revenge. Only then did Judith slowly lower the knife in her hand. Why would you help me? Without hesitation, Alicia offered her fan. I told you, I want to be your friend. No one knew what she was thinking in her mind. If possible, I hope we can help each other. While Judith was still very hesitant, Alicia approached and whispered in her ear, on the surface, the Croat family is led by 6 people, but there are another 6 people that only the head of the family knows about. A name quickly appeared in her mind, the Croat hexagon. Without hesitation, she whispered in Judith's ear, those 6 anonymous leaders are the ones who betrayed the Croat family. This information left Judith's mind blank. Is that true? Noticing her thoughts, Alicia said with a smile, you can go and verify if what I said is true. Aren't you the one who is going to be the head of the family? After saying these words, her mood became very cheerful, and you'd better clear out of this place as soon as possible. Otherwise, you really will die before you can do anything. Hearing this, her eyes gradually became suspicious. Are you saying this place has been discovered? At this moment, Alicia was startled by how quickly time was passing, and she said quickly, you can investigate that matter yourself. I hope my embroidery order can be completed before spring. Not wanting to waste time, she prepared to leave the place. I'm serious. What do you think about continuing to do embroidery after becoming the head of the Croat family? Of course, That's assuming you can stay alive. Judith wanted to say more. Wait. Alicia didn't give her a chance to speak. If you need anything, please contact the Ritter Mansion. Judith's face gradually became blank as she offered, I still want to ask. Seeing Alicia disappear before her eyes left her stunned. Unable to bear it any longer, Judith shouted in anger, is she crazy? Alicia continued to run down the stairs. Daisy, let's go home. In the room, Judith was still asking herself blankly, what on earth is going on? At this moment, the twins hurried out. Judith, we're not like you. Can we come out? Judith heard and nodded in understanding. Come on out. She didn't forget to turn her head and say with a smile, it took longer than expected. Sorry. The two children held hands. It's okay. We were just playing. Remembering something, Judith quickly asked for help. Flora, go get Uncle for me. She then turned to the girl beside her. Agnes, prepare our luggage. The girl was confused upon hearing this. Luggage? Flora continued to run ahead. I know. There was some sadness in Agnes's eyes. I'll go prepare right away. This caught Judith's attention. She quickly sat down and asked Agnes with concern, you don't want to leave, do you? The girl's voice was a little scared. No, it's not that I don't want to. If we don't leave, you'll be in danger. Understanding the girl's thoughts, Judith gently hugged Agnes. I'm sorry. You've suffered because of me, but I promise this will be the last time. Hearing this promise, the girl's eyes gradually filled with anticipation. Really? Then we won't have to sneak away without saying goodbye to our friends anymore. Without hesitation, she smiled and nodded in agreement, of course. Once this is over, I won't let it happen again. While she was still immersed in joy, Brand walked up with a smile. You've finally made up your mind. Recognizing his familiar figure moved Judith, Uncle Brand. She immediately stood up and explained with a smile, Uncle, I sincerely wish you could become the head of the family. Agnes quickly ran to his side. Dad. A gentle smile suddenly appeared on his face. Judith, I know what you want to say, but I'm just a shoemaker. Hearing this, Judith suddenly felt worried. Can I do it? Brand gently approached, held her hand tightly. Everything depends on you. His voice rang out, no matter what choice you make. A happy smile finally bloomed on her face. Then remember, I will always support and encourage you. Remembering something, she turned to look at everyone. Let's go quickly. Judith's gaze fell on the document on the table. I still have one piece of embroidery that must be finished before spring. The scene changes to the Ritter Mansion. Annie is still handing a letter to Alicia. Outside the room, a girl's voice was heard. My lady, it's Annie. The girl was a little worried and continued to ask, I'm sorry to interrupt your lesson, but may I come in for a moment? Noticing it was getting late, Petunia explained with a smile, time flies. Perhaps we can end today's lesson here. This made Alicia very happy. Really? Then come in, Annie. It's nice to finish early, she thought, but what could be the matter at this time? Annie entered the room and announced, the item Lady Alicia has been waiting for has arrived. It's the invitation to the royal investiture ceremony. A very excited smile bloomed on the girl's face, and there's another letter. This news left Alicia a bit confused. Another letter? In the blink of an eye, the scene changes to inside the royal palace. A man slowly walked forward and said, Your Majesty, this is a letter from the Grand Duke of Tessen. Rickard slowly sat down in chair. Did you see the request I sent? Leonhardt nodded after hearing him. I saw it. He continued, picking up a pen and signing the agreement on the table. You are requesting reinforcement for the western border. His face gradually became puzzled. This is too unexpected, Grand Duke. As he spoke, he looked up at Rickard. Don't we already have enough troops? After a moment of silence, Rickard finally spoke. You also know that Tessen is always short-staffed. The foreign tribes lack food, and sooner or later they will start raiding villages. Hearing this issue, Leonhardt sighed with some helplessness. Tessen already has many troops. The other nobles will surely oppose this strongly. He turned his face away, constantly reminding him, even if I am your older brother, what can't be done, can't be done. While he was still complaining, Rickard sighed. The atmosphere has been unusually tense these days. These words made Leonhardt stop abruptly. He seemed to find this hard to believe. Really? Rickard didn't hide it and nodded in agreement. That was Roderick's report. Leonhardt's face gradually became thoughtful. If it's Lieutenant Roderick, then I believe it. Suddenly, he realized something. Having no other choice, he immediately decided, I will approve your request. This made Rickard very happy. Thank you, Your Majesty. Leonhardt's face immediately became displeased, reminding him, you'd better be grateful to me. The thought of being surrounded by people made him very uncomfortable. Do you know how much trouble I'll get into with the nobles? Because of this? Just because of this. Perhaps this was why Leonhardt couldn't sleep. I've been struggling for days just to arrange the seating for that damned investiture ceremony. This made him very helpless helpless. Because of that, Eleonora and I had a fight. We've been sleeping in separate rooms for 5 days. Outside the room, Leonhardt urgently called for Queen Eleonora. Hearing this story left Rickard speechless. Is the queen angry? Leonhardt's eyes gradually grew sad as he recounted the story. It seems Eleonora is also tired. Because no one in the capital knows the Countess of Echoaria, many people must be trying to get information through Eleonora. As he spoke, he kept blaming, "This is all your fault." He seemed very annoyed about this. The last time we slept in separate rooms, it took me a great deal of effort to coax her. Remembering something, Leonhardt grew curious. How has the Countess of Echoaria been these days? Rickard explained seriously. She is not yet a countess. He found it a bit amusing, but I'm the one who gave the title. So what if I call her that a bit early? Rickard couldn't help but think of Alicia's figure. She seems to be adapting quite well at Ritter. Hearing this, his face showed some confusion. You know that's not what I'm asking. Once she turns 18, just marry her properly. His next words made Rickard realize something was amiss. Lady Alicia is still young. It was you, Your Majesty, who said we should wait another 2 years to get married. At that time, Leonhardt sat on the throne and said, I understand the Marquis's concerns about marrying too early. He continued with a smile, I didn't say you have to get married right away. Suddenly, his face became thoughtful. Let me think. You said she's 17. After a moment of silence, Leonhardt immediately slapped his thigh and laughed. That's right, get married at 19. 2 more years, no problem. Before Baldemar could speak, he continued, this way, the two of them will have time to deepen their relationship. It also gives the Marquis time to prepare himself to marry off his precious little daughter. It seemed Leonhardt was very interested in this matter. Not a bad plan, is it? Noticing Baldemar's expression caught his attention. Marquis, why do you look so unhappy? The more Leonhardt spoke, the angrier he got. Don't tell me you're unhappy about becoming an in-law with the royal family. Having no other choice, Baldemar immediately forced a smile. Of course not. It is my honor to have this opportunity. Seeing his agreement, Leonhardt became very happy, right? Then from now on, I'll be counting on you, Marquis Lane. Back in the present, Leonhardt sighed and complained nonstop. Those were just sweet words to please Marquis Lane. Rickard asked calmly, that matter has already been decided. Shouldn't the royal family show some integrity? Hearing this, he slammed the table in anger. I didn't expect you to suddenly give away the title of Echoaria just like that. His voice was somewhat reproachful. Once the title is given, then even I cannot cancel the marriage contract. Rickard wanted to explain something. It's not like that. But Leonhardt didn't give him a chance to speak. Now, just because you fell in love with someone too late, you're going to ignore everything your older brother said? Seeing it was getting late, Rickard immediately stood up. She is someone to whom I can entrust Echoaria without any regrets. Instead of wasting time like this, you should worry about how to handle the rumors that are spreading all over the capital. His face now became very resolute. Now there are even rumors that I went to kidnap Lady Alicia with an axe. He still felt what he did was right. Isn't it because you've always been known for your bad reputation? Leonhardt said in confusion upon hearing this. But I clearly ordered the news to be spread in the direction of a legendary romantic story. Rickard's mood suddenly became heavy. Seeing his reaction, Leonhardt also fell into deep thought, unable to speak. He didn't want to stay here a second longer either. I'll take my leave and go back first, brother. Seeing him leave, Leonhardt said urgently, Rickard. His voice gradually became very strange. Be careful. People are saying that at the beginning of the new year, after winter ends, Lua will rise. These words made Rickard stop in his tracks. But then he quickly walked out. I'll keep that in mind. Only Leonhardt was left in the room. Recalling everything that happened made him feel a bit tired. Unable to restrain himself, he sighed, What am I going to do with you? Little brother. Seeing Rickard come out, Henrik smiled and bowed his head. Did you have a pleasant talk, Your Highness? Rickard walked past him nonchalantly. We've secured the promise of reinforcements for Tessen. He smiled upon hearing this and said, Perhaps the young lady will come to Tessen this winter. We won't let her witness a chaotic scene. What a relief. This made Rickard find it a bit funny. Young lady? She's only 17. Henrik kept walking and talking, but she was the one who personally wrote to Your Highness, proposing marriage. She's not an ordinary 17-year-old girl. While he was still pondering to himself, he continued to suggest, when summer passes and the new year arrives, she will turn 18. That's the perfect age for marriage. Remembering something, Henrik suddenly asked, Didn't His Majesty also say to have her marry at 18? Hearing this, Rickard turned his head uncomfortably. Are you a spy planted by the Emperor? Noticing his reaction, he immediately forced a smile. Your Highness's caution is always reasonable, but it's not as if His Majesty only recently wanted you to marry. That intention has been there for quite some time. He sighed and replied, she's only 2 years younger than Lady Josefina. But Henrik still didn't understand and kept joking. Lady Josefina also just got engaged recently. It is you who are slow, Your Highness. Rickard slowly entered the carriage. Watch your words, Henrik. He sat inside and declared, I do not intend to marry Lady Alicia. Just then, Alicia's familiar figure appeared. Your Highness. This startled both of them, and they turned their heads in surprise. Realizing what he had just said made him a bit embarrassed. He asked hurriedly, Lady Alicia. Alicia said with a smile, I saw the crest of Tessen, so I wondered if it was you. A brilliant smile bloomed on her face, as if nothing had happened. Long time no see, Grand Duke. Time seemed to stop at this moment, as the two looked at each other. Sweat kept trickling down Rickard's face. Did she hear what I just said? He recalled his own words. I will not marry Lady Alicia. This made him even more certain, because I will not marry Alicia. He didn't know how to face her. There will be no marriage. Seeing Rickard still sitting there, Alicia suddenly asked, Your Highness, why aren't you saying anything? He breathed a sigh of relief, thinking she probably didn't hear. Rickard quickly shook his head and said, It's not that. Remembering something, he quickly turned to her. I didn't expect to meet you here, my lady. Why did you come to the palace? Alicia was surprised you didn't know. She continued to walk closer and told him everything. His Majesty the Emperor summoned me. He sent a letter saying he wanted to see me once before conferring the title. This made Rickard think to himself, brother. At that time, Leonhard had told him to get the young lady to sign the marriage contract as soon as possible. This made him a little angry, since he couldn't push for the marriage. He's now planning to resort to threats. Rickard continued, that button you liked back then. While Alicia was still waiting in anticipation, he continued to announce, I said I would find a similar one to give you as a gift. As it happens, I have that gemstone at my mansion in the capital. This time, Rickard used a method of temptation. I will report to His Majesty on your behalf. Would you like to go with me now? Alicia's eyes immediately lit up. I'm going to get a magic stone. She nodded in agreement without hesitation. I want to go. In the blink of an eye, the scene changes to the Tessen mansion. After searching for a moment, Rickard took out a box. There aren't many opportunities to craft gemstones in Tessen. He continued to look at her face, which was still full of anticipation. So the craftsmen in the territory were very excited when they heard about it. Looking at the contents of the box, Alicia thought, since it's this land, I don't have high expectations for the magic stone. The beautiful stone that appeared before her took her by surprise. I didn't expect it to be this big. All the small stones in my mind are magic stones, right? While she was still thinking, Rickard asked, Are you satisfied? Alicia smiled and nodded yes. Remembering something, she happily interjected, I heard a rumor that in Tessen, diamonds are scattered in the streams, and small gems are everywhere. Is that true? She adored the stone. Really, it's so beautiful. Thoughts flashed through Alicia's mind. I want to swallow it whole. I want to possess the power hidden within it. Just then, Rickard interrupted her thoughts. The downstream section of the river leading to the swamp does indeed have gold dust, but not as much as the rumors say. You need to know how to identify the terrain where gold can accumulate, and you also need tools to mine it. This information made Alicia exclaim, so it's partially true. She silently thought about these things, gold rolling in the river, and there are even diamond mines in the mountains. It doesn't sound like a dead land. It looks like paradise. Alicia's eyes visibly lit up. I really want to go to Tessen and try. Just then, a servant came in with refreshments. The tea and cake are ready, my lord. After a moment of silence, Rickard slowly picked up a teacup. After the investiture ceremony, I will return to Tessen immediately. He continued to look at the teacup on the table. Because there will be a banquet after the investiture ceremony, there might not be time to talk. His voice was a bit cold. Let me say my farewells in advance. Alicia was confused upon hearing this, yes. She thought silently. I know the Grand Duke rarely leaves his territory, but is he really going to abandon his fiancée and leave immediately? Remembering something, she suddenly asked, if you return to Tessen, when will you come back to the capital? Rickard thought for a moment and replied, perhaps I'll be back around the end of next spring. If you need to contact me, I will have a servant deliver letters. This made Alicia feel it was a bit difficult, and she thought silently, isn't that a bit inconvenient? Remembering something, her eyes sparkled. I want to go to Tessen too, but the winter in Echoaria would be more comfortable. But Rickard didn't seem to care about her at all, so living there shouldn't be too difficult. After you get used to Lucerne, please visit Haverlia as well. This made her furious. Why don't you just say, don't come to Tessen? Alicia wanted to say, if you keep this up, but she quickly calmed down. We're engaged anyway, so there will be plenty of opportunities to go to Tessen in the future. Don't be too hasty. Alicia forced a stiff smile and replied, I'll keep that in mind. Before leaving, she didn't forget to say to Rickard, I suppose the next time we meet will be at the ennoblement ceremony. Right. He listened to her quietly by her side, that I'll wear a burgundy dress. I won't put my hair up, just tie it to one side and let it hang down. Rickard nodded, as if taking note of her words. I'll remember that for reference. Before leaving, Alicia didn't forget to add, I'll also look forward to seeing you in formal attire. The carriage slowly moved forward. But in reality, there had been a conversation with the butler, Henrik. What will you be wearing to this banquet, Your Excellency? Rickard had replied coldly, something inconspicuous. As a result, there were no decent clothes in the Grand Duke's wardrobe. Recalling all this, Henrik hurried over to tease. This time, you can't just say anything will do, all right? Rickard turned and retorted. Then I'll wear the uniform of the Royal Knights. This made him more excited than ever. An excellent choice, Your Excellency. The maids haven't had such an exciting opportunity in a long time. In the blink of an eye, the day of the ennoblement ceremony arrived. A magnificent carriage slowly drove in. Rickard asked slowly, Are you nervous? Alicia answered slowly a little. He looked at her with some concern. Do you remember the order of the ennoblement ceremony? Her face became pensive in the grand hall. And then what? Seeing her strange expression, Rickard explained to her earnestly, just walk straight to the center of the hall. He gently turned his face to the other side. Don't be nervous. The doors slowly opened before them, because today is your day. At the same time, a voice announced, welcoming the Grand Duke of Tessen and Marchioness Alicia. This was followed by murmurs. So that's Marchioness Alicia. It seemed the people present were very surprised by this important day. Her face looks gentler than I imagined. To think such an angelic woman is engaged to that demonic axeman. That piece of jewelry, could it be Duchess Margaret's ruby? They continued to discuss. I heard it was love at first sight, so he kidnapped her. So she's really that infatuated. After sending her so many gifts, he even granted her a title. The women continued to chat, but they noticed how Alicia and Rickard looked now. She certainly has the beauty to deserve it. She walked to the end and bowed before the two known as the Emperor and Empress. Your Majesty the Emperor, Your Majesty the Empress, I greet you. Leonhardt smiled and said quickly, I'm delighted to meet the person who is now more famous in the capital than I am. Come closer. Alicia slowly walked forward. Yes, Your Majesty. He placed the sword on her shoulder. From now on, as the Countess of Haverlia, I expect you to serve the Empire with all your heart. Alicia also recited her prepared words that I am deeply honored, Your Majesty. Seeing everything go smoothly, Leonhardt was very pleased. Today is truly a very joyous day. In front of everyone, he congratulated a new Countess of Haverlia has been officially born. My younger brother has finally found a partner and is engaged. Welcome to the royal family, Countess of Haverlia. He continued, turning to look at Rickard. And you, Rickard? He looked calm, yes. Leonhardt gradually became very excited. Your Highness, congratulations on finding your lifelong partner. Seeing such a happy union, Leonhardt pointed behind him. This is also my engagement gift to you. A large box was placed before the two of them that I hope my sister-in-law is pleased with my gift. When the box was opened, a piece of white cloth appeared before everyone. The sight of this item made Rickard very uncomfortable. The more he thought about it, the more incredible it seemed. It was a veil specially prepared for a bride, used only by the royal family in the most important ceremonies. Was he trying to use that to fully affirm his fiancée's status, as if she were already a member of the royal family? Rickard couldn't help but recall Leonhardt's words. I hope the two of you become a real family as soon as possible. The intention is so obvious it's suffocating, he thought wearily. Looking at the white cloth before them, the crowd began to murmur that my goodness, this is the first time I've seen the royal family be so proactive. This seemed to become a hot topic of discussion. From the veil to how they address her, it seems the royal family has truly accepted her as one of their own. This was very uncomfortable for Ryukard to hear. I heard His Majesty the Emperor dotes on his younger brother, but I didn't expect it to be to this extent. The murmurs were endless. It's said to be an engagement, but it's clear Countess Alicia is already the Duchess of Tessen. Just then, Eleonora slowly began to speak. Grand Duke, she said with a smile what she knew, I heard you'll be returning to Tessen after the ennoblement ceremony. Leonhardt looked at her in surprise. It seems my Empress has something to say to the Grand Duke. Meanwhile, Ryukard nodded in response. Yes, Your Majesty the Empress. I cannot leave the border for too long, so I will return immediately after the ceremony. Hearing these decisive words made Eleonora feel a bit regretful that they had to separate right after getting engaged. I feel so sorry for my sister-in-law. Therefore, she didn't hesitate to suggest to the two, why don't you invite the Countess to Tessen for a trip? The expression on Rykard's face gradually changed. What do you mean by that? But Leonhardt was very excited. That's a great idea. He smiled and turned to chat with his wife. Although Tessen is a bit far, since the two of you will be together, you certainly won't be lonely. Seeing this, another person standing and watching applauded. What a wise decision. Applause then erupted from the surroundings. It's too pitiful to be separated right after getting engaged. This made Ryukard realize something. From the very beginning, I saw them deliberately making the atmosphere unusually enthusiastic. The crowd kept praising, he's so considerate. He was very helpless, but there was nothing he could do. So this was their intention from the start. Everyone was interpreting it according to Leonhardt's intentions, that he surely doesn't want to be separated from the one he loves. The two stood there listening to the discussions. The Grand Duke must be so happy. Ryukard suddenly understood everything. It was all a setup. His gaze gradually became extremely uncomfortable. It was all a setup. He turned to look at Alicia, who was still lost in thought, and suddenly spoke. My fiancé will be coming to Tessen soon. Alicia nodded in agreement without hesitation. I'd be happy to. This made Leonhardt and Eleonora clap very happily. Seeing this, the people around them also followed suit, clapping continuously. Witnessed by everyone, Alicia and Ryukard immediately bowed. At that moment, Alicia Lane's trip to Tessen was decided. Sometime later, horses were galloping forward relentlessly. A servant on horseback shouted urgently, my lady, Lady Alicia. Remembering something, the servants kept blaming each other. Hey, Roderick. She's the first lady born to the Marquis's family in 200 years, a noble from the north. You said to be extra careful when welcoming her. Going back in time, Roderick had said to Alicia, welcome to Tessen, Countess. The thought of this made everyone angry. You said she's probably never even lifted anything heavier than a spoon. Roderick didn't forget to inform Alicia, we are the escort knights in charge of protecting you today, Countess. We have prepared a carriage. She was more surprised than ever to hear this. But this isn't a carriage. The men were still arguing incessantly. You told me not to show off my brute strength. Alicia had smiled, turned, and suggested, can I ride a horse to look around? Recalling all this made everyone even angrier. You said that even if she took 3 steps and rested for 1, we couldn't complain. Everyone kept blaming each other. But the person riding faster than the knights is... How could you call her a weak lady? Lady Alicia, that's the forest over there. Seeing Alicia ride so well, Roderick was very confused. How was I supposed to know the Countess was like this? Just then, he realized something was wrong. The horse's leg seemed to have a problem. Having no choice, Roderick quickly turned and ordered, go get His Highness quickly. It seemed Alicia had just made a very wrong decision. Lady Alicia has entered the forest. He turned without hesitation and shouted, we must go after Lady Alicia immediately. After saying that, Roderick continued to spur his horse forward. Meanwhile, everyone gradually went deeper into the forest. Alicia's familiar figure appeared before their eyes. They were still standing there as everyone asked urgently, Lady Alicia. Roderick quickly approached her and said loudly, this forest is a forbidden area. Seeing her still standing there, he hurriedly dismounted. Lady Alicia. His face gradually grew worried as he shouted loudly, you must leave here at once. A very strange creature was reflected in the horse's eyes. It stomped its foot on the ground below. This made the horse very frightened, and it shrieked. Seeing this situation, a knight at the side hurriedly drew his sword. They kept advancing and said, enemy, prepare for battle. Please stay behind me. Alicia silently watched the monster before her, a cocksign monster. The extremely dangerous situation made Roderick feel a bit helpless. Damn it. With no other choice, he charged straight ahead. Protecting Lady Alicia is the top priority. The knights with swords immediately rushed up to fight the monsters. Hold out until the Grand Duke arrives. Roderick's figure angrily struck down one monster after another. Just then, Olivier realized something was wrong. Fortunately, he reacted quickly and attacked the monster. Their thick hides made the battle progressively difficult. Eventually, the bodies of these monsters were gradually hacked apart. This left Olivier feeling a bit helpless, not knowing what to do. Roderick's eyes gradually filled with despair as he thought silently, "It's being blocked." At this moment, the monsters were gradually surrounding everyone. Their speed was extremely agile, making it very difficult for Olivier. In the end, he was struck by one of the monsters. The weapon was sent flying into the distance. Coincidentally, at this moment, the weapon landed right at Alicia's feet. Seeing this, Olivier shouted urgently, "Lady Alicia, it's dangerous. Get away." Unafraid, she picked up the object and examined it. This spear is well preserved. A very interested expression gradually appeared on her face. "I'll borrow this." Perhaps Alicia didn't notice that a monster was targeting her. From behind, Olivier shouted, "Get out of the way." In an instant, the person was gone. Alicia lightly flew over the cocksign's body. She stepped on its mouth and said, "About that cocksign." Alicia pointed the spear tip at the cocksign. Its shell is as hard as rock, so without extraordinary strength, it's hard to cut through. She flew up lightly, so you have to aim for weak spots like the eyes or mouth. Thrust the weapon into the gaps between the rocks. It opened its mouth full of sharp teeth, and immediately a spear was thrust straight into the cocksign's oral cavity. Cracks gradually appeared. Alicia landed lightly on the ground. "Doing this will take care of it." She pointed at its corpse. "After this is all over, remember to collect all the black stones here." On the other side, Roderick was struggling against another cocksign. "You mean wait until this is all over?" Suddenly, the sound of footsteps ran over. The coxswain surrounded her. They are a pack species. Although Roderick and Oliver were out of breath, they didn't dare to let down their guard. Alicia said confidently, "Daisy is still waiting. Let's make this quick." As soon as she finished speaking, the coxswainess charged at the three of them. She flew straight up to meet them without hesitation. A single strike straight into the oral cavity. Over here, he also fought hard. While defeating four coxswainists, she assessed them silently. The Knights of Tessen really know how to attack, so they're finishing them off quickly. Suddenly, a coxswain charged over. Alicia still thought calmly, "If it goes on like this, we can finish this soon." Its hand touched the spear shaft. Suddenly, the spear was snapped in two by the coxswain. She looked at the scene before her in shock. The broken spear fell. Why did it have to break at this moment? Just then, Rickard arrived, tightly gripping his axe. He threw it without hesitation straight at the coxswain that was attacking Alicia, right in front of her terrified face. It was split in two. The axe landed next to Alicia. Still shaken, she asked, "Your Highness." Rickard walked over, panting Alicia. He urgently gripped Alicia's shoulders tightly. Rickard asked anxiously, "Are you all right?" She stared at him with wide eyes. Alicia smiled brightly and replied, "I'm fine. Are there more of these around?" She pointed to the stone beside them, the one that had attacked Alicia just seconds ago. "This one." Rickard was relieved to see she was safe. "Thankfully, you don't seem to be seriously injured. I'll talk about the forest later." He turned and called out, "Roderick, Olivier." The two of them answered in unison, "Yes, Your Highness." Rickard exuded a murderous aura. The Knights of Tessen can't even protect one person. He shivered. "I'm a dead man." He began to speak. "Regarding the Grand Duke's future fiancée entering the forest, I will not hold you responsible." Rickard looked at the pile of stones before them and then said, "But what you saw today must be kept an absolute secret." Both of them replied, "Yes, Your Excellency. I will remember." His voice softened. "Clean this place up, then return to the mansion." Alicia reminded, "Remember not to forget the stones." She became excited. If we're talking about returning to the mansion, then of course. Alicia was very happy. It's back to the Grand Duke of Tessen's mansion, right? But Rickard said sternly, "Countess, you should go to the Lily Mansion." Daisy objected. "How can you say that? This is the mansion given as a gift. Of course we should live here." She looked up at her. "You have to be on my side." Daisy continued to comb Alicia's hair as she said, "It's been a month since we came to Tessen." Alicia said boredly, "And yet, I haven't seen the Grand Duke once since that day. The only thing I do all day is..." She looked out the window, receiving one person after another who lined up outside the city, all hoping to get a glimpse of the Grand Duke's fiancée. Just then, a guard walked into the living room. "Please let the guest from Baron Gretz's family in." The waiting people all stood up. "It's finally our turn. Let's go in." The guard walked ahead. "I will lead you to the reception room." Suddenly, a person at the end of the line changed direction. He turned and walked in the opposite direction, quickly ducking around a corner. His pace quickened. He said confidently, "As long as I successfully sneak in, the rest will be easy." Something like this. Judith asked Alicia, "Don't you suspect anyone? Or is there anyone who hates you, Lady Alicia?" Alicia looked up, pensive. "After all, I've never dealt with high society before." After a moment, she spoke, "I can't think of anyone." Judith clicked her tongue in amazement. How strange for someone as all-knowing as Lady Alicia to not know this time. "That person is Lady Viviana Monis." Alicia was surprised, "Not Maud?" Judith explained to her, "Viviana is Maud's younger sister, the third daughter of Marquis Monis." Alicia absent-mindedly jabbed the needle down, and Judith suddenly cried out, No. She quickly snatched back the embroidery hoop. Alicia held her forehead. "So annoying." Judith asked her, "Is it Viviana Monis, or are you talking about the embroidery?" Alicia said coldly, "Both." She turned to look at Judith and said seriously, "Help me investigate Viviana Monis. See if she's taking orders from someone, or if the whole family is plotting." Alicia added, "Also, find out if this has anything to do with the Grand Duke." Judith bowed to accept the order. "I understand." A while later, Judith held a perfect piece of embroidery in her hand. "It's done." Alicia, sitting next to her, exclaimed, "Oh my, it's so beautiful." She looked up at her. Judith, can I ask you for one more thing?" I suddenly feel like sending a gift to Viviana Monis." The next morning, the bright sun hung high in the sky. A bouquet of flowers and a card from Alicia were placed neatly on a table. A hand reached out, angrily grabbing the bouquet and throwing it away. "Is she insane?" Viviana raised her hand and bit down on it hard. Alicia Lane actually sent flowers used to decorate coffins. She recalled seeing Alicia and Rickard together a few days ago, so she's gloating because she's about to marry into the royal family. But compared to my sister who is carrying the Emperor's child, she's nothing. A vicious look appeared in Viviana's eyes. That country bumpkin from the north dares to look down on the Monis family. I'll show her what the rules are. And at this time, Alicia was gradually getting used to life in the imperial capital. The rumors she heard about her own personality, which even she didn't know about, were all thanks to the contemptuous Viviana. It was like a thick book radiating a dazzling aura titled The Ritual of Taming a Newcomer to the Capital's High Society. Alicia went to a banquet alone. Ahead, a group of people were chatting together. She bowed to them politely, but they all ignored her. Alicia looked up at their backs. This is the first move. Ignore greetings and treat others as if they don't exist. As Alicia followed a servant inside, whispers echoed wherever she passed. I greeted her, but she didn't even bother to look at me. She's so cold. People say she has the face of an angel, but a personality colder than ice. One less than clear sentence made Alicia turn her head. Maybe it's because she's from the north. She frowned. What does that have to do with anything? That's the second move. Make unreasonable trouble to try and isolate and exclude them. Those people were startled by Alicia's sudden gaze. So scary. She curled her lips into a smile. As time went on, this situation was becoming more and more interesting. Leaving the trembling people behind her, she straightened her back and walked forward. If people are gossiping this much, I must be famous. What is Judith worried about? Just then, the sound of sobbing reached Alicia's ears. She followed the sound forward. Who's crying? The sound of people talking came from inside. When I greeted her, she just walked past as if I didn't even exist. Alicia secretly raised an eyebrow. So I'm not the only one subjected to this bullying. She saw the figure of a girl crying and complaining from a distance, just because she's well-liked by everyone in the palace. I never believed those bad rumors about the future Grand Duchess. Alicia was still standing there as another person's voice continued. But to me, it was as if I didn't exist, as if she hated me. Alicia's eyes stared ahead. The future Grand Duchess. Only then did she belatedly realize, are they talking about me again? Then, the servant leading the way also turned to look at her. Alicia was speechless. It seems so. In the courtyard, a group of people were surrounding and comforting a girl. By the time she could see the person clearly, Alicia said silently to herself. Oh, Viviana Monis. The pressure around Alicia dropped, and she entered kill mode, staring ahead. Does she really have nothing better to do? She took a breath and turned to follow the servant. I heard nothing. I heard nothing. If I fight back, regardless of whether she's right or wrong, I'll just look like a fool. After taking 2 steps, Alicia suddenly lifted her skirt and stopped. But she's the one who started it. Is she crazy? Why should I restrain myself? Her high heels seem to sink deep into the ground. She's ruining the reputation I've built. Am I really going to put up with this? Alicia took a deep breath, closing her eyes to try and calm down. Don't forget, Alicia, this is the world of civilized people. I can do this. Try to restrain myself. Damn it. Just then, Viviana's voice rang out. Can you believe it? One sentence shattered all of Alicia's composure. She slammed her fist hard into the nearby wall. Viviana was telling everyone that she said. I blocked her path and slapped her hard across the face. Pieces of the wall fell off. Alicia kept telling herself, damn it, restrain yourself. It seems I have to teach her a lesson. The servant in front turned around in fear. Alicia took a deep breath. I can't kill her either, so just touching her lightly should be fine. Then she calmly faced the servant. Oh my, this wall is so fragile. It cracked with just a light touch. She waved her hand to dispel the awkwardness. Oops, can I relax for a moment? The servant stammered. You. Alicia sighed to herself. It's much easier to fight monsters in hell. At least there, even if I chop them all to pieces, everything is quiet. As Viviana was still complaining nonstop, a voice rang out, interrupting her emotional outpouring. Are you saying I slapped your cheek? Viviana quickly wiped her tears and turned around. Lady Alicia. Alicia looked at her. Did I hit you that hard? Viviana felt uneasy. Why did she suddenly lower her voice at me? Does she think that will scare me? She thought to herself. She whispered, oh my, what is she planning to do? Viviana smirked a little. What's the harm in a little lie? What could she do to me? Is she going to hit me? She looked straight at Alicia. Really, I don't know what you're talking about. Under Viviana's blank stare, Alicia raised her hand high without hesitation. As her hand came down, she was already on the ground under her icy gaze. Alicia's cold voice rang out like an alarm bell, making everyone around turn pale. I was going to ignore your nonsense, but hearing this, it will be truly absurd if I continue to remain silent. She lightly shook the hand that had just slapped Viviana and said nonchalantly, to be honest, what I just did. Alicia narrowed her eyes, revealing a gentle smile, but every word she uttered was filled with menace, used less than a fifth of my strength. Then she ignored her, turned, and commanded contemptuously, get up, Lady Viviana. This time, I'll use all my strength. And the gossiping people all widened their eyes, simultaneously asking themselves, she hasn't even used her full strength yet? Watching Alicia stride towards her, a question arose in everyone's mind. It's already like this. At this moment, she questioned in a menacing voice as she walked. You were saying so much just now. Why have you suddenly gone quiet? Another girl saw this and quickly helped Viviana up. Her voice trembling, she's fainted. Hearing this, Alicia fell silent, cursing inwardly. Damn it, I should have held back less. Just as she froze, everyone simultaneously bowed their heads and shouted, His Majesty the Emperor. At the same time, a lazy voice sounded, Countess of Hoverlia. Leon Hart stepped forward and asked coldly, what on earth is happening in my palace? A moment later, 2 more chairs were in the hall for Viviana and Alicia to sit on. Prime Minister Monis reluctantly turned to the person next to him and complained bitterly. Why was my daughter hit? What is going on? He was flustered, but the other man tried to comfort him. Isn't this why His Majesty summoned us? Viviana was dabbing the tears from her face with a handkerchief, but her ears were still listening intently to the surrounding conversation. He will surely judge this matter clearly and clear your daughter's name. Ignoring her murderous glare, she was now looking around, wondering, hasn't the Grand Duke arrived yet? Just then, her gaze suddenly caught a pair of shiny leather shoes slowly walking in, making Alicia let out a surprised ah. She quickly raised her eyes and couldn't help but whisper in her heart, he's here. However, as Vladimir's straight and cold back passed by, Alicia couldn't believe it, her eyes widening in a daze. For a moment, her heart stirred. Why is father at the palace? And he had already sat down calmly under the confused gaze of Prime Minister Monis. She broke out in a cold sweat. Could this matter be even bigger than I thought? Alicia, Rickard, he called out, running in breathlessly. In her heart, Alicia secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He's finally here. He asked, is it true? Well, she hesitated, not answering. Rykard's face loomed in front of Alicia as he asked, I mean, did you really hit someone? How serious are the injuries of the person who was hit? She stammered, oh no, it's not. Seeing she couldn't explain clearly, he raised his voice, answer me. At this moment, Alicia only felt helpless. You have to give me a chance to answer. Rickard lowered his head and pressed Alicia. You didn't. He hesitated. Kill someone, did you? She shouted angrily, no, Grand Duke. Everyone around was stunned, and Alicia thought, please. Everyone heard that. Hearing her answer, Rickard breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness. It must have been a misunderstanding. Alicia replied with a smile. That goes without saying. I don't even know what killing is. If I had really done it, there would be nothing left here. His words left both her and Vivian dumbfounded. Alicia trembled with anger, cursing inwardly. Why is this man, known as the Monster Grand Duke, treating his own fiancée like a beast in front of everyone? At this, Rickard's expression finally softened, as if a great weight had been lifted from his shoulders. That's good. She smiled, but a popping vein betrayed her anger. Do I look that much like you? The injured person is fine. Please sit down. Hearing this authoritative voice, Rickard had to turn his head. Leonhardt raised his hand and called out to Rickard. He immediately lowered his head and said, I apologize. Alicia sat back in her chair, annoyed. She thought, this is insane. What will my image become now? Everyone will surely think poorly of me. He began the inquiry. Well then, thank you all for answering the summons despite your busy schedules. A violent incident occurred in the palace today, and we are gathered here to clarify the truth of the matter. Leonhardt explained, his voice echoing steadily through the palace. Any act of violence cannot be tolerated. Therefore, please answer the questions carefully. Now then, Miss Viviana, Miss Alicia, Leonhardt asked, who will step forward to testify first? Her face was as cold as ice, showing no fear. Only Vivian, upon hearing this, had a sinister smile curve her lips. Witnesses appeared in the hall to testify. Judith stated clearly. Miss Alicia said Miss Viviana's accusation was slander and slapped Miss Viviana across the face. She also said she only used 1/5 of her strength. Prime Minister Manus thought frantically. 1/5? Judith continued. But Miss Viviana was already unconscious and couldn't hear anything else. The entire hall was shocked that she had fainted from just one slap. The Emperor blinked and commented calmly. Even so, Alicia did use violence. Alicia smiled, but her hands gripped her dress tightly, her heart filled with rage. This is so annoying. In front of the royal witnesses, I can't deny that I hit her. I must prove that Viviana spread the rumors first, that it was slander. Let's just fight to the death, she thought. Finally, Vivian spoke up. Yes, Your Majesty. This made both Alicia and Leonhardt turn to look. Vivian covered her face and complained with teary eyes. I was extremely shocked by Miss Alicia's sudden violence. How hard must she have hit me to make me pass out? She watched Vivian's performance and thought, how ridiculous. I didn't hit her that hard at all. This is so unfair. I was clearly holding back. Alicia looked toward Rickard, calling out to him silently. Your Grace the Grand Duke, because I live with a man like you, I've forgotten just how fragile nobles are, Alicia thought. Just then, he turned to look at her. Alicia put on a questioning expression. What is it now? This just made him tilt his head, sweating. He turned his head and saw this, feeling helpless. Leonhardt thought, she's not the type to speak carelessly. The Grand Duke is a dry man who lacks a sense of humor. Those words were indeed strange. He chuckled to himself. Things are getting more and more interesting. Finally, the Emperor spoke, calling out Miss Alicia. Do you have anything to say in your defense? Leonhardt asked her. At this moment, Alicia was lost in her own thoughts. Well, I did hit her, but she provoked me first. After some thought, she began hesitantly. Her Majesty the Empress has arrived. After the announcement, Eleanor spoke. My apologies for being late, Your Majesty. Seeing her, Alicia was surprised. The Empress. He took the Empress's hand affectionately and said, since this incident occurred in the rear palace, it is most appropriate for the Empress to preside over the judgment. I entrust you with the task of clarifying the truth of this matter. Leonhardt looked at his Empress with deep affection. Vivian bit her nails anxiously. The Empress is going to be the judge? Impossible. Vivian glanced at her, rolling her eyes, and thought, the Empress is in league with that monster. She's definitely going to target me. Suddenly, a voice called out Miss Alicia. Using violence in the rear palace is a very disgraceful matter, Leonhardt said in a low voice, so I have no need to hear your defense. The Empress's gentle voice rang out, making Vivian smile smugly. A series of vicious thoughts flashed through Vivian's mind. What's this? I thought she was on good terms with the Empress, but it seems that's not the case. Look at her. But it makes sense. She chuckled to herself, thinking she barely managed to repair her relationship with the Emperor, which was broken because of mode. Would she risk everything for you? Anyway, it's my sister who will give birth to the first heir. As Vivian was gloating, Leonhardt's voice rang out, startling her. I'm certainly not saying that Miss Viviana was right, but for the princess's sister to stir up trouble and cause distress to a pregnant woman. But I've been truly wronged, Vivian shouted. Vivian put on a show, crying and complaining. Miss Alicia not only ignored me, but she also hit me several times. Alicia glanced over, thinking she's crying as if someone is chopping onions next to her. It's truly admirable. She gave a sarcastic smile, as if in response. In high society, this sort of thing isn't strange. She asked Vivian, can you specify the time and place where the incident occurred? Without hesitation, she immediately nodded and answered Leonhardt, yes, Your Majesty. The first time was in the morning as I was walking from the rear palace to the east garden. Then Miss Alicia blocked my path and slapped me, Vivian recounted. Actually, I have already investigated your testimony, she said suddenly. The witnesses, including the gardener and the maids. The gentle voice rang out. All testified that the two of you merely passed each other without speaking or touching, she continued. Vivian broke out in a sweat, panicked. The palace servants are witnesses? She stammered, what? Impossible. Leonhardt patiently asked again. If not, then perhaps it happened at a different time. As if grasping at a lifeline, Vivian immediately changed her tune. Not in the morning, it was at noon, that's right. Vivian changed her testimony. I misremembered. She just glanced at her and continued her act. She raised a hand to her chin and asked Vivian thoughtfully. Miss Viviana's friends were also present at that time, so Miss Alicia must have hit you with all her might, correct? She replied, yes, it hurt terribly. Did she hit you many times? Leonhardt continued to ask. However, Vivian shamelessly fabricated. According to the doctor, I nearly went blind in one eye. She nodded, I see. If the situation was serious enough to require a doctor, then it would be best to summon that doctor to testify for you. The Empress's words made her freeze in terror because there was no doctor. Viviana was about to be exposed. Alicia thought, words require evidence. This must be investigated to the end. She watched Vivian's eyes widen in terror and smiled. Hurry, Miss Viviana, called the doctor. That person must be a third party, not someone on your side or a friend. The Empress's steady voice made her tremble and bite her nails. Vivian was furious inside. Damn it, the Empress is clearly in league with that monster. Impossible, she stammered, and Vivian raised her voice. There are many people next to me who saw it. Why make things so complicated? Leonhardt remained cold and unconvinced, but a friend's testimony can be biased and is difficult to consider as reliable evidence. Does that doctor truly exist, Miss Viviana? A direct question was posed, making Prime Minister Monis jump up and call his daughter's name. Viviana. Finally, Vivian stalled. This is unfair. Why am I the only one being judged? She said loudly. The maids by the Empress's side are also biased witnesses. Everyone knows Miss Alicia comes to see the Empress every day. You say my people are biased. The Prime Minister's face turned blue with anger as Vivian stubbornly argued. How is that any different from what you just said, Your Majesty? Miss Vivian, the Empress called out in a low voice. Leonhardt smiled, but asked coldly, are you accusing the people of the Imperial Palace? At this, Vivian was shocked and panicked. What? I didn't mean that, she said. What you just said was very dangerous. Leonhardt reminded her sternly. They could cause others to have doubts about this Imperial Palace. Prime Minister Monis immediately ran over to shield her. That's enough, Viviana. Please forgive her. Your Majesty, Your Majesty. My daughter is still naive. She doesn't know any better, he tried to explain for her. Leonhardt's voice rang out. Having lived in the palace her whole life and still doesn't know any better? Prime Minister, that is an untenable excuse, he said coldly. Her testimony keeps changing, yet she still insists on her accusations with neither witnesses nor evidence. Those are the only ways to prove Miss Viviana's claims. The cold emperor continued. If it was a lie that Miss Alicia slapped you, then how would you know she used her full strength and not just 1/5 of it? Leonhard asked. Let her slap you again with her full strength and see what happens. The emperor's voice was filled with challenge. Prime Minister Manus was terrified and shouted, Your Majesty. Viviana, he commanded quickly, apologize at once. Vivian could only ask through her tears, What? Why should I apologize? And Miss Alicia as well, Prime Minister Manus added. Seeing Leonhard start to leave, she complained to herself, Why is everyone just standing and watching? Why are we, who are about to give birth to a prince, being treated like this? Just then he spoke, I command that, until Princess Gokenmode Manus gives birth, the other direct daughters of the Manus family are forbidden from entering the imperial palace as concubines. Hearing this, Prime Minister Manus could only cry out, Your Majesty. Vivian, sweating profusely, struggled to say, But I am the aunt of the unborn child. If I suddenly disappear, my sister Mode will worry. Her voice trembled. Enough, he asked sternly. Are you threatening us? Leonard turned to look at Vivian, looking annoyed. Are you implying that Baroness Goken will suffer without you? Prime Minister Manos grabbed Viviana's shoulder and left. Renaud Lucas warned Prime Minister Manos in a low voice. From this day on, Viviana is forbidden from appearing in the imperial palace and at all social parties. She must reflect in confinement until I permit otherwise. I can't stand the sight of her. Get out immediately. The rest of the people below were silent, not daring to make sound. He approached Rickard and Alicia, a slight smile playing on his lips, his voice light and clear, Countess Echoaria. Renaud Lucas said happily, his eyes filled with excitement, I hope the two of you will not hesitate any longer and marry as soon as possible. He said sincerely, this is my heartfelt wish. Hearing this, Rickard frowned slightly, his expression thoughtful. As the two left together, he said softly, for the time being, don't go to the Empress's palace. She replied, confused why. Rickard's tone was laced with concern, his gaze heavy, because His Majesty has taken notice of you. Avoid making an appearance for a while. Alicia was surprised. Is it anger? He replied, yes, but it's more than that. Rickard stopped and looked at her, speaking slowly. His Majesty is both curious and suspicious of Alicia Lane. Alicia frowned slightly, approaching him in confusion and asking softly, suspicious of me? What? Rickard replied, the Emperor is always wary of powerful people, so for now, keep a low profile. Alicia crossed her arms, but why should I? A low voice interrupted Alicia. As he reminded her, look ahead. She turned in surprise. Valdemar Lane, with a contemplative expression, was walking slowly towards them, his gait carrying a dignified air. Alicia frowned in displeasure, a sense of weariness rising within her. Oh heavens, what is it now? He stopped in front of Rickard and bowed respectfully. Your Grace, I apologize for the trouble Alicia has caused you. Alicia was surprised, her eyes flickering. Valdemar Lane turned to look at her, his gaze stern but calm. Alicia, have you apologized to the Grand Duke? Alicia looked bewildered. She thought, his timing for interfering is just perfect. Alicia smiled, covering half her face with her fan, outwardly annoyed. Does he want to oppose me more than anything else? She thought about it. Anyway, just to the Grand Duke, wasn't entirely wrong. Alicia curtsied slightly and said to Rickard, I'm sorry for the trouble I've caused. He smiled happily, his eyes unusually gentle. It's all right. It was a face that made any apology worthwhile. Alicia looked at Valdemar Lane calmly, her voice cool. Is there anything else you have to say, Father? He frowned slightly at her. Valdemar Lane sighed and said, I came to tell you. Valdemar Lane's voice rang out, warm and proud. I believe you made the right decision today. Alicia couldn't help but feel surprised, hastily covering her face with her fan. Is this really my father? He continued, you responded to their lies with violence, but in your situation, that was the best option. Valdemar Lane stood opposite her, looking at her without blinking, because they had many supporters and you had none. He continued, his voice filled with reason. If you had relied on words alone, you would have had a hard time proving your innocence. The atmosphere suddenly fell silent. Alicia looked up and let out a soft ah. Outside, the setting sun had turned golden. Rickard gently led her towards the carriage. He gently extended his hand, and Alicia's expression was slightly surprised. She placed her hand lightly in his, and Rickard lowered his head. He helped her into the carriage first, then slowly followed behind. Suddenly, Rickard tripped and staggered forward. He fell to his knees, and Alicia cried out in alarm, "Your Grace!" Rickard gasped for air, trying to speak between ragged breaths. "Your hand." Without hesitation, Alicia immediately pulled off his glove. She held his hand tightly, her voice low but urgent. "Has your condition worsened? I heard the pain gets worse when you're too far from Tessen." Rickard tried to answer, his voice hoarse but calm. "It's not that. It's just that the incident was so sudden. I was worried my fiancé had killed someone, so I rushed over, and the noise in my head got a bit louder." She fell silent, a question rising in her mind. "Really? So the condition worsened because of me?" Alicia frowned slightly, her voice tinged with reproach. "You should have said so sooner." She thought, the Emperor must know about the Grand Duke's condition, yet he still summoned him here for this farce. Rickard said, "I'm really fine." His voice was warm. "As long as you are by my side, Alicia, I still have enough strength to endure." Alicia was surprised, her cheeks flushing slightly. Rickard looked at her with concern and asked softly, "But do you really not have any friends?" Alicia answered awkwardly, "What? Of course I do." He continued, a hint of light teasing in his voice. "Your servants and your embroidery teacher don't count, Alicia." She was surprised. Why not? Alicia hesitated, tried to recall the people she had met. What about those guys I met in hell? She remembered the demon who tried to steal her magic stone and her pet chimera. The image of the giant chimera appeared in her mind, and she thought again. I probably shouldn't mention them, right? Alicia answered casually, "I was planning to live alone in this world anyway." "You win," he retorted immediately, "and one can live alone, especially not in the capital." She retorted coolly, "I was born alone and will die alone. Someone will handle things eventually anyway." Hearing this explanation, he fell silent. Alicia thought, why did father say those strange things earlier? She recalled Valdemar Lane saying before he left, "Anyway, since you're back from Tessen, come home for a visit. Marine wants to see you." Alicia froze. "Mother?" Valdemar Lane frowned slightly and sighed. "Marine is good at making friends and knows many people. You should meet with her more often and expand your circle of friends." She remembered those words and, thanks to him, only felt uncomfortable. Alicia's gaze lingered on Rickard's worried face. Now even the Grand Duke is looking at me with such pity. She said coldly, "If I'm already this strong, why do I need friends? You, of all people, must understand this better than anyone. You probably don't have any friends either." He answered curtly, "I do." Alicia's face fell, and she said sternly, "Really?" A sense of frustration rose within her. Rickard smiled gently, his voice a little teasing. "I have many enemies, but I also have friends. If you don't believe me, you can ask Roderick or Henrik." She still couldn't believe her ears. Impossible. The horse swayed gently, and the carriage wheels began to roll slowly. A complex feeling welled up in Alicia's heart. Even a monster Grand Duke of Tessen has friends. The next morning, on the street, Alicia decided to act normally until the Emperor's suspicion subsided. When she was at the ducal residence in the capital, she would occasionally go out to run errands. Passers-by recognized Alicia. Isn't that her? No one on the street was unaware of the incident between her and Viviana. But the new rumor was, the Grand Duke's fiancée is no ordinary person. This was even better than the old, baseless rumor that she was a thug. She rolled her eyes, thinking, being an extraordinary person is probably better than being an ordinary one. Alicia called out softly, "Daisy, come in." Alicia walked into a large shop, and a sweet voice rang out, "My lady." Katrina was holding a bottle of perfume, and she smiled elegantly. "How may I help you today?" "It's a pleasure to see you, Katrina." Alicia looked around the room, her eyes searching for something. "I'd like to buy a gift, but I'm not sure what would be appropriate." Katrina asked, "Who is the gift for?" She answered directly. "What would the Empress like, but something that isn't too common?" Katrina's expression faltered for a moment. "I see." Alicia let out a cry of surprise. She pointed to the neatly tied scented candles on the shelf. "Scented candles? You want to give this?" Katrina replied softly, "These candles are very popular recently. The Empress has probably received quite a few already." She smiled a little sheepishly. "That's true. Fortunately, I've recently blended a new fragrance. Why don't you try that? It's a brand new product that I haven't released on the market yet." Alicia happily followed up, as expected of the owner, "Katrina, that would be perfect. Please wrap it up beautifully for me." Katrina replied quickly, "Of course, my lady." Alicia watched quietly, seeing her focus on wrapping the gift, her hands careful with every detail. Alicia suddenly asked, her voice light and curious. You must have a lot of friends, Katrina. Katrina looked up in surprise. She said softly, friends, I have a few, but not many. Behind her, Daisy looked at Alicia with a slightly surprised expression. Katrina said slowly as she cut the ribbon, I've found that in this capital, it's hard to find friends who truly understand your real self. Alicia breathed a sigh of relief. See, even a legend of the social world doesn't have many friends. She suddenly thought of Valdemar Lane and Rickard always nagging her. Why do I have to make friends? Just to put others at ease. Katrina held the gift box in her hand and smiled happily. Have you made any friends since coming to the capital, my lady? Alicia hummed softly, not yet. She reached out and picked up a tulip. Nobles make friends through social events. Katrina decorated the gift box with the flower, her voice gentle and tinged with reassurance. The whole capital is buzzing about you right now, my lady. You'll surely receive many invitations soon. So don't worry. Alicia's eyes dimmed slightly, her mind heavy. I'm not worried, and I've never replied to those invitations before, so surely no one will invite me again. I don't plan on accepting anyway. A few days later, in the courtyard of Alicia's home, she was riding a horse when Rickard's voice called out, Alicia. Alicia stopped her horse and looked at him, puzzled. She gripped the reins tightly and said softly, I'm sitting up straight, and my riding posture is correct. Rickard frowned slightly and lowered his voice. I heard from Henrik that an invitation was sent to you. What do you plan to do with it? Alicia smiled slightly, drawing out her words, with Henrik? He repeated, I'm talking about the invitation. She answered bluntly, I threw it away. Rickard gently patted her head, saying helplessly, threw it away again. Alicia turned her horse around and replied coolly, I have a pile of unanswered letters, so I threw them all out at once while cleaning. He leaned in slightly, his hand gripping the horse tightly. With a light leap, Rickard sat behind her, his movements decisive and effortless as he spoke softly. His voice was almost a whisper only she could hear in the Grand Duke's residence. There are many of the Emperor's people. Rickard asked in return, his voice laced with suspicion. Did you really throw away Josephina's invitation? Alicia frowned, her words slow. So you knew all along? Who told you? He was a bit flustered, and before he could answer, Rickard replied, a letter from the Zephyr family flashed in my mind. It was an invitation from the Zephyr family. He persuaded her. I think you should go. Alicia immediately retorted, did the Emperor tell you to say that? Rickard quickly turned his head, avoiding her gaze. No, but Alicia thought, why is this happening? He said, his gaze fixed on her. This is definitely an opportunity to make friends, but it's also a chance to discuss someone you both know. Rickard continued, lowering his voice, I'm talking about Gregory Barker. Alicia paused, her eyes wavering. She turned around with a frown and said loudly what? He replied calmly. After the engagement with the Lane family was called off, Rickard continued, the eldest son of the Barker family has decided to get engaged to a royal princess. Alicia froze, the image of Gregory flashing in her mind, sending a chill down her spine. That trash. She realized with a panic. He's engaged to the Emperor's precious granddaughter again. A thought occurred to Alicia. It's over. This is all my fault. She turned her head slightly and asked softly, in that case, may I borrow the carriage? The most expensive land in the capital, Big Dipper Main Street, is home to the salon of the Zephyr family, the leaders of high society. This place, known as the Palace of Big Dipper Main Street, is the Great West Wing, a gathering place for noble ladies. Today, the Great West Wing was particularly lively, as the young ladies of various families awaited the Grand Duke's future fiancée. The whispers outside never ceased as the young ladies clamored, what kind of person will she be? If she dared to lay a hand on Viviana, she must be no ordinary person. Whoever gets the upper hand first has the advantage, right? Our Lady is not someone just anyone can deal with, right? Inside, Viviana tried to defend herself, her voice sharp. Why invite such a rude person? Everyone knows what she did to me. A calm female voice replied, then what would you have me do? She looked out the window, her voice unchanging. His Majesty ordered me to get along with the Grand Duke's future fiancée. I'm not happy about it either, but it's the Emperor's command. What else can I do? She warned, her voice as cold as ice. Do not disgrace Miss Alicia any further, Miss Viviana. You're lucky you weren't cast out of your family. Viviana covered her mouth in fear, her face pale. Outside, the young ladies were still murmuring. When she said that, I have to admit I felt quite relieved. Miss Viviana is too arrogant, always relying on the child in her sister's belly. Yes, that's right, so annoying. Just then, a carriage stopped at the gate. All eyes turned in one direction, and the young ladies stared in amazement at the magnificent carriage. Oh my, what a splendid carriage! As everyone held their breath, the carriage door slowly opened. Miss Alicia, the daughter born to the Northern Marquis family in 200 years, the Grand Duke's fiancée, and Miss Josefina, the daughter of a duke and a princess of the most noble bloodline in the empire. Josefina stepped forward proudly, her scrutinizing gaze waiting to see which of the two would exit first, who was the one with higher status. A loud whoosh came from the carriage. Alicia landed lightly on the ground, her posture elegant and natural. Josefina was surprised. She elegantly lifted her skirt and curtsied. "Hello, Miss Josefina." Alicia said politely, "Thank you for inviting me to your family gathering." A lady, seeing this, thought, she has manners. Josefina also replied happily, "Welcome. It is my honor to meet Countess Echoaria." She assessed inwardly. "What's this? She's quieter than I thought." Then she started a conversation. "Which designer made Miss Alicia's dress?" Hearing this, she replied happily, "This is a dress designed by Agesta Tevelit. I heard she is very good at matching blues." But suddenly, Josefina pointed at the dress with her fan. That dress. Her voice was filled with killing intent, but her face still wore a smile. "Don't wear it again." In Josefina's eyes, of all people, she was the last one who should be wearing that thing. A murmur went through the crowd. She had shown her hand from the very beginning, telling someone not to wear a dress they had specially ordered from a designer. Alicia lowered her head, thinking no noble could remain silent after hearing such a thing. As if having made up her mind, she moved her lips. To everyone's surprise, Alicia spoke. "I understand." She thought in astonishment. She's yielding? Then she quickly tossed her hair. "I was not aware that this was a designer you favor, my lady." Alicia bowed deeply. "Please forgive me." Josefina was clearly surprised by that attitude. What was this? It was a blatant provocation, yet she humbly bowed and apologized. She was also confused when the man who had once used violence in the palace finally spoke. "Be more careful next time." She answered honestly, "Yes, I will be more careful." Then Alicia showed a brilliant smile. "That I'm still new to this, so please take good care of me." The surrounding ladies marveled. "She's so pretty. Was she always this kind? Is she an angel?" She brought her face close to Josefina's. She lowered her eyes and thought, "Really?" Josefina spoke up. "Why don't you come with me to see the salon?" Alicia nodded happily. "Thank you." Her expression was somewhat sad and self-reproachful as Alicia thought to herself, "I'm so sorry. Because of me, your life has become terrible. The thought of the humiliation you will have to endure when you get engaged to the Buck family makes me so guilty I can't raise my head." She began to lead the way. "Then let's go this way." Seeing the tears on Alicia's face, Josefina was extremely flustered, thinking, is she crying? She gently wiped away her tears and asked softly, "This is the West Wing." Then she chided herself. "Are you going to cry over something like this?" 1 hour later, the young ladies sat and chatted. Alicia asked cheerfully, "This fragrance is so exquisite." "It suits you very well, Miss Blonde." The lady covered her mouth and laughed. "Oh my, you flatter me, Miss Alicia. I didn't expect you to have such refined taste in perfumes. Since coming to the capital, I've had many opportunities to try various things." She enthusiastically offered, "I know a very talented perfumer. I'll introduce her to you. Even the Empress uses her perfumes." The ladies were very interested in the person who made it. "That's wonderful." Someone asked, "Miss, do you also enjoy embroidery?" Alicia shook her head, "No." Josefina stood at a distance, secretly assessing them. She may be a bit clumsy, but it seems she has a talent for communication. Still, rumors are always exaggerated. Night was gradually falling. Outside, Alicia asked softly, "Why did the Grand Duke come here?" Rickard replied, "I came to pick you up." "How was your day?" She happily placed her hand on his. "Yes, everyone welcomed me." Alicia recounted happily, "Thanks to the young ladies there, I learned a lot about high society. To show my gratitude, I taught them something." Rickard asked in surprise what. Suddenly, Josefina appeared from behind. "Your Highness, the Grand Duke." He replied, "Niece." A hint of concern showed in Rickard's eyes as he looked at her. "Josefina." Alicia answered happily, "I taught her how to ride a horse." She frowned as she watched them holding hands. Josefina thought with a confused expression, "I knew something was wrong right away. His Highness is interfering with the young lady's social life." In Josefina's eyes, the image of the two of them was very intimate. He asked gently, "Did you make many friends?" She reached out her hand to separate them. This was all the Grand Duke's doing. However, as Josefina's hand fell between the two, their figures had already vanished. She looked at the two of them and thought, I can't stand this anymore. Josefina frowned and gritted her teeth, thinking, let go. Rickard said innocently, are you sick, Josefina? Go inside and rest. She screamed in her mind, what are you two doing? Josefina rushed up, wildly waving her arms to separate them, but he had already helped Alicia dodge her, dating and holding hands before marriage. As a member of the royal family, you should maintain your dignity. Rickard whispered to Josefina, what are you doing now? You're the one who should maintain her dignity first. She whispered back, I'm going to tell Uncle. The uncle here is the Emperor. His voice was low but still nonchalant as he replied, I'll tell him myself. And red doesn't suit you. When he said this, Rickard's voice was no longer low. You look like a peacock. Josefina asked angrily. A peacock? He ignored her and walked past her. He led Alicia ahead. Thank you all for seeing us off. I'll take my leave now. The surrounding young ladies said in unison, goodbye, Your Highness, the Grand Duke. Goodbye, Miss Alicia. On the way back, she asked curiously, you seem to be very close to your niece. Rickard replied casually, we're family. After all, so there are some bonds. The two held hands tightly. Alicia asked with concern, is your pain still severe today? You didn't come to find me because of that, did you? He turned his face away guiltily, thinking, I've always endured that pain alone, but now I can't stand being away from Alicia even for a little while. This worries me greatly. Then he spoke to reassure her. I'm fine now. More importantly, Rickard continued, I came back after taking care of the matter Alicia requested, in exchange for holding her hand earlier. She asked thoughtfully, did you succeed in arousing the royal family's suspicion? He replied gently, I just said a few words as advice. Rickard recounted what he had said to Princess Gorkins at the time. Be prepared, because His Majesty might also be interested in those around you. Alicia asked skeptically, was there any reaction? He replied, everyone seemed to be trying hard to recall if they had any connection with Miss Maud. Rickard, he continued, I'm also curious why Alicia wanted to spread such a rumor. He recalled the moment, Your Highness, are you suspecting your other brothers? The image of Rickard bowing his head to her. He looked at Alicia and asked, do you mean that what I'm worried about is true? She closed her eyes and shook her head, but I'm not sure, Your Highness. I'm just speculating on the events that are about to happen. Alicia provided more information. What is certain is that Princess Gorkins will give birth to a daughter and it will be 4 months earlier than the due date. She looked up and smiled brightly, and that is today. Late at night, knights holding torches approached the Grand Duke's residence. A guard holding a notice said, by order of His Majesty, please prepare and proceed to the palace immediately. Rickard and Alicia stood there, cloaked. She spoke, we will go at once. Because the Grand Duke and his future fiancée, upon receiving the Emperor's order from the royal messenger, departed immediately without hesitation, as if they had been waiting for this moment. 2 guards whispered, did the Emperor tell them in advance? I thought it would take at least an hour to depart. The other replied, it doesn't matter. The fewer troubles, the better. In the night, a carriage traveled through the forest. Roderick Rosa rode closer on horseback and asked, Your Highness. He reported the intelligence he had gathered. His Majesty has summoned the royal family members to the palace and has ordered a temporary blockade of the Marquis Minos's residence. I heard it's for their protection, but it seems, upon hearing this, he thought, in reality, this is no different from house arrest. Then Rickard nodded that you've done well. He judged silently. Miss Maud has given birth much earlier than expected. This means the Emperor has now begun to act personally. Arriving at their destination the next morning, Rickard asked, where is the Emperor? A guard replied, he is already in the delivery room. He murmured, the delivery room. Both Rickard and Alicia stood before the delivery room with worried expressions. Servants bustled in and out. She saw someone bring out a blood-stained cloth. In the room, Leonhardt sat by the bed, encouraging forcefully a little more effort. I believe in you. Outside, the maids discussed worriedly. The labor pain started last night, but it's not over yet. Even the royal physician seems worried. As Stevna saw this and spoke, it's gotten this pitiful. I'm afraid we won't be preparing for a celebration party, but worrying about a funeral. The clock ticked quietly. It was already past 12 o'clock. There was still no movement by 3 o'clock. At that moment, he came out. Seeing Leonhardt, he quickly turned away. As if understanding her concern, Leonhardt closed his eyes and shook his head in response. Then he gave an order, I will lift the blockade on the Minos family. Leonhardt closed his eyes and instructed, summon the Marquis here. A guard bowed respectfully yes. Hearing the emperor's order, everyone present immediately understood the situation. They were preparing for the worst. He said with concern, "Empress, go back and rest for a while." The royal physician said the child won't be born until sunset tomorrow. Then Leonhardt turned his head and looked at Estevna. He said coldly, "Until then, don't go too far." He was slightly taken aback, then quickly replied, "Yes, Your Majesty." In the lounge, Alicia sat in a chair, resting with her head tilted back. She said calmly, "She will be fine." Rickard mused, "You're very confident," Alicia said in a matter-of-fact tone, "because I have already foreseen it." She stated with certainty, "If this child was not destined to be born, I would not have known she was a princess." He asked seriously, "Then what about the future of the emperor's granddaughter?" Alicia turned her head in another direction that I don't know. But Rickard didn't think so, you do know. He placed his hand on the chair she was sitting in. Rickard stood up and approached. "Are you truly ignorant, or are you just planning to remain silent until that time comes?" Seeing that Alicia didn't answer, he called out softly, "Alicia." He saw that she had fallen asleep. Rickard lowered his eyes slightly, his heart filled with mixed emotions. He took off his own coat without hesitation. Rickard gently draped the coat over Alicia. "You really are special." An image of her from the past returned to his mind. At that time, Alicia had also been sleeping beside Rickard. Back then, he had even gently reached out to touch her hair. Now, Rickard was also gently arranging Alicia's hair as she slept. Her face looked so peaceful in her sleep. He looked at that face and felt a warmth in his heart. At least she looks a bit normal. Night fell. Outside the castle, a dark figure was trying to break in. Alexis had successfully infiltrated the castle's interior. But unfortunately, he was discovered. A soldier shouted in pursuit, "Intruder! Halt! That is the inner palace. Entry is forbidden." Seeing the dangerous situation, Alexis stammered, I just came here to find someone." As he was only focused on running forward, he immediately crashed into Estevna. The guards quickly subdued Alexis. "Count, are you all right?" He shouted, "Let go of me." He sat on the ground and asked in surprise, "Who is this guy?" Alexis kept shouting, "Let me see her." One person answered, "Reporting, my lord. He is a suspicious person who climbed over the wall." He pleaded with tears in his eyes, "Please let me see her one last time." The name Alexis blurted out stunned, "Estevna Maud." A soldier came to report, "My lord Count, this man fell on me." He murmured, "How could this be? From now on, I will handle this man." One day later, outside the palace, newspapers were being hawked. Extra, extra. People were very happy to hear the news of the princess's birth, discussing it amongst themselves. "Oh my, this is wonderful news. His Majesty finally has an heir." To think, he even named the child himself. This is truly a blessing for the empire. Have you forgotten? This child caused a commotion throughout the entire palace, even before she was born. Someone nodded, "That's right. A lot has certainly happened since then." That night, countless fireworks were set off from the imperial palace. Everyone raised their glasses together to congratulate the birth of the princess. Leonhardt sat at the head of the table and began to speak. "Everyone, thank you for coming to celebrate." He explained, "Unfortunately, the princess and my lady had a difficult delivery, so they are still very weak and unable to attend." Leonhardt continued, "There is still much work to be done, including confirming the bloodline. So shouldn't we enjoy the party while we still have time?" Alicia silently watched him talk and laugh. She nobly raised her wine glass and took a sip. In a room, Leonhardt sat by the bed, looking at Gorkin's Maud holding the child. "She looks just like you. I feel so warm. This is perhaps one of the happiest moments of my life." Leonhardt said gently, "I hope her daughter grows up to be both beautiful and as strong as you." She laughed softly. "I am honored." She thought to herself, thanks to the emperor's first child, this is also the time when the meanest family's power reaches its peak. He asked softly, "By the way, do you think the name Dorothea suits the princess?" Suddenly, a guard entered. "Your Majesty, I'm sorry, my lord, but Count Estevna says there is an urgent matter." Leonhardt frowned slightly and asked, "Is there something that can't wait until tomorrow?" Estevna rushed in to report. There was an intruder in the inner palace. He began to narrate. When the guard were about to take him away, he started spouting nonsense. Alexis was brought in and immediately shouted loudly, "Maud." He kept repeating his accusations. How could you do this to me? Why did you abandon me, Alexis?" Continued saying things that stunned both Gorkin's Maud and Leonhardt. "You promised we would be together forever. You chose the emperor because I was just a fallen noble. Is that it?" Estevna slowly handed over an item. "Furthermore, we found a handkerchief embroidered with the princess's initials on him." He continued, He said it was a token of love, which he exchanged for a pendant engraved with his initials. He turned coldly and asked Gorkins, "Who is this man who calls your name?" Gorkins' Maud replied, "His name is Alexis de Tocqueville, your majesty." Estevna continued. He publicly declared that he had an affair with Princess Gorkins. At this point, Leonhardt's voice had turned several degrees colder. "I'll ask you one last time." When he was truly angry, her face was full of panic. "Your majesty, I don't know that person. This is slander." But Alexis kept trembling and crying, "Maud, I can't eat or sleep from not being able to see you. I beg you, just look at me." His face was full of hope. "That child is..." Alexis's next words froze Gorkin's Maud. "Our child? No." Leonhardt couldn't take it anymore and ordered, "It's too noisy. Count, take that man out of my sight." She hurriedly defended herself. "Your majesty, that's not true." But by this time, he had already turned away. "My lady, you must still be weak from childbirth. Don't trouble yourself with this anymore, and get some rest." Seeing Leonhardt and the maid leave, Gorkin's Maud asked anxiously, "Your majesty, where are you taking our child?" But he didn't look back. "Your majesty." Rickard raised his wine glass. "Your majesty, congratulations." Leonhardt asked coldly for what. He replied, casually, "To congratulate the birth of the princess, of course." He answered coldly, "There is no proof that she carries my blood." Hearing this, Rickard wasn't too surprised. "It's a pity to hear that." Seeing Leonhardt's slight surprise, "Did you really not know?" He remained silent. After a moment, Rickard finally answered, "I had heard rumors, but I thought it was just meaningless gossip. I didn't want to bring those dirty rumors into the imperial inner palace." He also voiced his thoughts. "Actually, I had long suspected something was wrong with this situation, but I chose to pretend not to know and wait for the right time to deal with it. Who knew he would come to see me himself?" Leonhardt smiled sincerely. "Rickard, I always feel at ease with you by my side." He was slightly taken aback by those words. Suddenly a soldier entered. "Your majesty." He nodded and said, "You've arrived. Please excuse me for a moment, Grand Duke." He reported quickly, "I searched the princess's room according to your majesty's orders." The soldier presented a necklace. This was found. Rickard glanced at it and said nothing. Leonhardt threw the necklace directly back into the wine glass. By being embroiled in the scandal related to Princess Gorkins, the Grand Duke would have gradually become estranged from the Emperor. But by having the Emperor handle the matter directly, instead of having the Grand Duke make the accusation, the two shook hands. The future had been changed. Alicia watched the scene silently. After the party was over, Rickard said, "I'm sure the Emperor will execute Alexis de Tocqueville." She said coolly, "It's the right thing to do." Seeing his slight displeasure, he asked, "Did you have to go that far?" Alicia pondered to herself, "Is he feeling sorry for Alexis's death?" She analyzed patiently. Breaking into the imperial palace is already a grave crime, and he also publicly admitted his relationship with the princess. This case involves the royal lineage. We can't let him live, lest the meanest family or others use him. Rickard quickly shook his head. That's not what I meant. If it were me, I would have made sure His Majesty never knew about this scandal. He said coldly, by eliminating him from the start. She cursed inwardly. "Rickard, you're the one with the problem." Then said, "It's a good thing you weren't involved." The two walked in the garden. Letting the Emperor handle is a cleaner approach. Over here, two soldiers were escorting a hooded Alexis. Upon reaching their destination, Alexis was thrown roughly to the ground. He quickly removed the hood. "What's happening? Where am I?" Alexis saw the soldiers slowly draw their swords. "You're not going to let me see Maud?" At that moment, only 2 words of his final sentence were heard. "Wait." After that day, no one in the imperial palace ever mentioned Alexis de Tocqueville again. Princess Dorothea was confirmed as the emperor's biological daughter, and one of his confidants was appointed as the princess's guardian. Princess Gorkins never appeared at official events again and was said to be under house arrest in the inner palace. Leonhardt held the princess affectionately in his arms. At the Louis Den residence, night had already fallen. Alicia leaned back comfortably on her beloved bed. Tired. Another scandal has come to an end. She sighed to herself. Who would have thought that just because the Emperor has a mistress, everything would get so messy? Suddenly, Alicia sat up and recalled. She suddenly remembered something. This isn't the first time the Grand Duke has been involved in a scandal, is it? Let me think. Alicia thought of Rickard. There were rumors at the time that he was having an affair. The person mentioned was Baroness Rubel, an image of great charm and elegance. But I thought, the Grand Duke, who falls ill the moment he leaves Tessen, couldn't possibly be in a condition to see someone else. In the end, the rumors were just rumors. But then one day, the luggage was neatly packed. Alicia was about to leave. She was saying goodbye to everyone in the residence that I've been a bother for too long. Henrik Lang hurriedly said respectfully, "Not at all, my lady. Have a safe trip." Both he and she looked sad, but he thought, I had hoped the young lady could stay at the Grand Duke's residence a little longer. It feels like His Highness is kicking her out. Alicia smiled and comforted him. I have neglected the management of the Louis Den residence for too long. She placed a bag in Henrik Lang's hand. "Please give my regards to everyone for me." Suddenly, Alicia spoke up and asked, "His Highness seems to be preparing to go somewhere, right?" "Where is he going?" He replied, "He is going to see the Lord of Turin." She smiled and said, as if she understood something. Alicia asked, "If he's going to Turin, that's very far. Will he be all right?" Henrik Lang shook his head happily. "Not at all. The Lord of Turin is currently near the capital. His Highness must know how much the young lady worries about him." She connected the scene of the two of them kissing. The Lord of Turin is Baroness Rubel. This means the Baroness will be there too. Back in the present, Alicia was opening her jewelry box, just as I thought. I knew it. I can't just ignore the rumors. The accessories Alicia had left after removing the magic stones. Looking inside the box, she was surprised. Then an extremely sad expression. Are they all gone? At this moment, Alicia came to another room and sat embroidering with a lifeless expression. Judith sat beside her, thinking with some unease. She looks even sadder than usual today. She decided to speak up. "My lady, did something happen today?" Judith glanced at the embroidery. She's not even embroidering it correctly. Alicia suddenly asked, "Judith, can I ask you for a favor?" Thoughts tangled in her mind. "I need to clear my head." Alicia said, "The Lord of Turin is currently near the capital." She returned to her thoughts again. "But I also need to clarify the Grand Duke scandal." Alicia said sincerely, "Please help me find out everything about Baroness Rubel." Then she thought to herself, "And take all the remaining magic stones from Tessen as compensation for breaking off the engagement." Outside, a magnificent palace. A personal maid opened the door. "She is waiting." Rickard walked in, flanked by palace maids lined up respectfully with their heads bowed. In a large, simply decorated room, he walked towards a bed hung with thin curtains. A hand reached out. "Your Highness." Rickard hurriedly sat down and held the hand with both of his, yes. He replied affectionately, "It's me." Rubel placed her hand on Rickard's face. "Your Highness, I missed you so much." His eyes were full of affection. "That I missed you too." Over here, at a tea party, Judith spoke first. "You asked me to investigate Baroness Rubel, right?" Alicia nodded, quickly sitting up straight in her chair. In a tense voice, she said, "There's still some things that haven't been clarified, but I think there's one thing you should know." She put down the cake she was about to eat and asked curiously. Countless thoughts flashed through Alicia's mind. What? Why does it seem so serious? Could it be that the reason he's been against the marriage is because he's actually in love with someone else? And for some reason, their marriage cannot be realized. She thought of a scene of Rubel crying to Rickard. "Oh, why is your last name Tessen?" Judith quickly interrupted Alicia's train of thought. "First of all, the Lord of Turin, Baroness Rubel, doesn't actually manage the land directly. His Majesty's tax officials go there and supervise everything every time taxes are collected." She asked hesitantly, "Really? But not all places are directly managed by His Majesty." She nodded. "That's right. Even the imperial capital is managed by his brothers or other royal family members." Alicia wondered, what does any of this have to do with anything? Suddenly, another case came to her mind. Wait, a small piece of land with nothing special, yet managed so strictly. This means, at this moment, an image of the two of them in an intimate embrace was in Alicia's mind. Could it be that she's not Rickard's lover, but the Emperor's secret concubine? The person in the rumors is me. Judith's voice pulled her back to reality. Another strange thing is that the servants who attend to Baroness Rubel are all from the temple. Alicia felt a little embarrassed in her heart when she heard these words that, it's not like that. She asked thoughtfully, "The temple?" She nodded. "Yes, they're the temple scribes, the only ones allowed to handle royal and imperial records." Judith deduced, if her husband is His Majesty's tax official, then Baroness Rubel must be a member of the royal family, or at least someone of a status comparable to royalty. Alicia pondered, who could she be? She shook her head that I don't know. First, I investigated whether she was one of the previous emperor's concubines. Judith gave a startling piece of information, but strangely, all of the previous emperor's concubines fell ill one after another. She continued, and then they all passed away. Over at the chapel, Ruble said gently. You haven't come to see me in a long time. I know you're busy, but I'm still a little disappointed. She continued, lately, even Rickard has become busy. He doesn't come to see me anymore. Maybe this means he's grown up. Ruble placed her hand on Rickard's shoulder and continued to confide. It's really annoying, but I'll forgive him because he's cute. But at this moment, his face was pale and he couldn't say a word. Rickard hurriedly turned his head to the nanny standing behind him. Her face showed sadness, her head slightly bowed. He lost his composure and asked the nanny, who on earth is she talking about? Judith's narration continued. However, her age doesn't match that of the previous emperor's concubines. Ruble called out, Your Highness. Rickard hurriedly turned his head and held her hand tightly. Yes, my lady. She continued with the information she knew, because according to the information I have, she is at least in her 80s. An image of Ruble lying exhausted in bed, trying to say to him, please love and cherish Rickard. Over here, Alicia was very surprised. What? She's already in her 80s? Judith confirmed and recalled, that's right. Since we couldn't send someone to infiltrate Heim, where the Baroness lives, directly for reconnaissance, we investigated the surrounding area and found a caregiver who had resigned about 10 years ago, who had taken care of the Baroness. Judith recounted the situation at the time. According to her, the Baroness looked like she was already in her 80s back then. She hurriedly interrupted, wait, if she looked like she was in her 80s 10 years ago, wouldn't she be in her 90s now? She scratched her face in confusion. That's the strangest part. Alicia didn't understand. Strange? Judith continued. According to the residents around the Turin residence, Baroness Ruble looked like she was already in her 80s 20 years ago. She was stunned. What? How could this be possible? She synthesized the testimonies of many witnesses and slowly came to a conclusion. Judith slowly uncovered the truth. Baroness Ruhr, starting from 20 years ago, looked like she was in her 80s, and it was the same 10 years ago. She finally concluded that even now, she still looks like she's in her 80s. The nanny hurriedly caught up with the distraught Rickard, who was running down the stairs. Your Highness. He finally stopped and asked with his head lowered, since when? She said with difficulty, we don't know when the symptoms started either. We only noticed it about 2 years ago. Rickard lost control of his emotions, turned around, and questioned loudly. Why didn't you tell me? The nanny said softly, because the Baroness never failed to recognize you, Your Highness. Her condition only worsened in the last 6 months. Before that, she would just confuse the past and the present. He opened his mouth, as if wanting to say something. The veins on his neck bulged. Rickard said with difficulty, you've all been through a lot. She said respectfully, not at all. He finally walked out the door, leaning his back against it. Tears streamed down Rickard's handsome face. Rickard recalled attending his parents' wedding as a child. Back then, Ruhr looked very young and beautiful. At that time, Rickard was just a child, staring at her motionlessly. She was his mother. The wedding was over, and he stood on the top floor looking down, just in time to see the carriage driving away, returning to the domain right after getting married. What does that mean? Rickard hurriedly gave chase. I'm going to ask her in person. The butler behind him quickly caught up to stop him. Your Highness, you absolutely must not do this. He ran swiftly down the stairs, chasing the carriage. Mother! Rickard ran alongside the carriage, shouting continuously, Mother, why aren't you saying anything? But at this moment, her appearance was no longer that of a young, beautiful maiden. Ruhr, with graying hair and a face full of wrinkles, looked at him in anguish. Rickard was stunned when he saw this. Mother. He knew that anyone who made a pact with Tessen would not be happy. She couldn't become like that. Alicia received a letter from Rickard, which read, I am about to go to the southwest region for an inspection, so even if you come to Tessen, it will be difficult for us to meet. After reading the letter, she angrily tore it in half. Oh, you plan to avoid me forever. Is that it? Daisy entered the room. I have something to ask. She looked at the torn pieces of paper on the floor and already knew the answer in her heart. It seemed she had been rejected again. Daisy called out, Miss, it's time to prepare. Seeing her come in, Alicia rushed over and grabbed Daisy's shoulders. You've come at the perfect time. Daisy was wondering to herself, only to hear her say directly, I have a favor to ask of you. On the other side, Rickard had arrived. A respectful voice was heard. It is an honor to meet you, my lord. Alicia was plotting her plan in her mind. No matter what reason the Grand Duke has, I will make him come see me.